It is Thursday, April 1st, 2021, 7 p.m. We will call the meeting of the Select Board to order. Present are myself, Renee Deli, Meg Arts, Michael Toole, Brad Bramwell from the board, and also Mr. Town Manager Michael Units.
Renee.
Yes, sir.
Can you ask everyone to mute that's not talking?
I sure can. If everybody can just mute if they're not talking, please. And if you don't know how to do it, feel free to raise your hand and we can do it for you.
It's Town of Norton 1 that's making the noise.
Also saw a dramatic video of the desperate attempt.
The host should be able to mute everybody.
I got it.
Chauvin turning away as Floyd is placed inside the ambulance. The
I can't see who it's coming from.
Pressure to spot clerks and cashiers who work at
You
stores
Ruth?
like Cup Foods.
Ruth's iPad?
Your Chris $20 bill that Floyd used.
I can't.
Fatal confrontation.
Renee, don't you have control of
Nope, I have no options to mute. I usually do, I don't.
participants?
Charlene, can you make sure I'm the host, please? I think I
You
am.
are.
Yeah,
It's
but I have
Brad.
no option to mute.
It's that individual doesn't have an option to mute. It's kind of weird.
Hold on, I think I've got it.
Yep.
Okay, we're gonna assume that's good. Okay, so we have many items on the agenda tonight. I'm gonna ask my fellow board members if we can jump, let me just see if we have everybody on. Mike, we were going to have Chief Clark on, I see him. We talked about Keith being on. Is Keith able to join?
Yes,
Oh, Keith. I gotcha, thank you. And then, Mike, we had some discussion about town council. Do we have town council? Were we able to get them?
We could not.
Okay, so if we have follow-ups, we'll take those offline. And I'll ask my fellow board members if we can jump under new business, because we have many of our employees on and others for item number 1, which is a discussion on home market foods traffic issues. Are there any objections to that, taking it out of order?
None here.
No.
Okay, great, thanks. So we've had some discussion back in October about traffic issues in that area. I want to just do a quick, give me a second here, I'm going to share my screen. I want to do a quick review just for clarification about which area that we're talking about. And then I'm going to ask for both Michael and Meg, who were delegated at that time, to take this offline to have discussions to give us a quick update. So give me 1 second here. Got it again. How about if we just ask, if somebody has a TV on in their background, can they mute the TV? Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Now we can.
Thank you, Michael. So the discussion that we are primarily focused on is with this address at 380 South Worcester Street. There's been some discussion about the zoning in that area, and I want to clarify, this is a mixed zone area. One side of South Worcester is industrial for quite a ways, and the other side and surrounding areas is residential. Mike, you know what I didn't see? Do we have the gentleman from Home Market Foods on?
Yes, Dan Anderson is on.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So I just wanted to show this briefly so that we all know what the conversation is. I'll zoom in a little bit here. And actually, let me take this layer off because it's easier to see. This is Woodward Street here, South Worcester going down to where John Scott Boulevard and Eddy Street meet. And then, of course, South Worcester going off this way. There's an entrance here. I can't tell. Is that Woodward Street?
Yeah, that's what, right up.
Okay, and then the other entrance that is on South Worcester. So just want to preface that for a discussion. If I need to put this back up on the screen, I can. But what I'd like to do is first I think, Michael, you may have had the first meeting, so if you can give the board an update on the discussion during that time, and then we'll move from there.
Sure. So it was brought to my attention, some concerns about traffic over at Home Market Foods. And it was I brought that, the concerns of residents to the town manager. And at that point, we had a meeting with myself, Mike Units, Meg, and their operation, Dan Anderson and their operations person, just to kind of just discuss some of the concerns. Specifically, it was that first meeting was only focused on traffic and trying to get an understanding of the traffic flow and speed and so forth within there. We came away with some of the takeaways, and one of the goals that we were doing in that first initial meeting was trying to make sure that the traffic flow, that trucks weren't coming out of that front gate on South Worcester, and they weren't taking a right, they were taking the left, which the signage set tells them to do. Mr. Anderson from Home Market Foods was receptive to making sure that his people were aware of that. He was open to the ideas of, really trying to see, make sure that the residents' concerns were met. And that's just a summary of that first meeting. We were going to try to look at other ideas. One of the things that came up at that first meeting also was was a request to open the Woodward Street Gate. And, we didn't really push the issue on that because there was an understanding through the town on that, that gate would be closed. So not much was done there, but it was for initial discussion and of kind of trying to communicate that the trucks are flowing the right direction and then slowing down, that they were notified they need to be slowing down in those residential areas. I can keep going from there if you want.
Yeah, Michael, you said that there was an understanding through the town that the gate would not be open. What is that, through the planning board?
No, I'm going to refer to my key units, but it was a memo of understanding when Home Market Foods went in there with the town that Woodward Gate would not be opened. If I'm speaking wrong about that, correct me, Mike, but I believe it was when Home Market Foods moved into that building, that's when that memo of understanding went into place. Of course, Mike is talking with mute on because this is it.
I was going to start the meeting to say, and
I know, Renee, I
Mike,
thought
you're
you
muted.
were going to say your meetings would be quicker if Mike didn't have to keep on muting.
Your time.
That was an agreement when the TIF was signed with Home Market Foods.
Okay.
The truck route was established to come out of the far entrance, take a left, and go out South Worcester, and no one was to use that Woodward Street entrance or exit.
Okay, so that was a request from us that gate would not, or that entrance exit would not be used.
Right, because there were neighbors right there at that gate that didn't want it open.
Okay, and that was something that the board obviously recommended, and it was approved at town meeting, right?
Yeah, if I can share my screen, I'll show it.
Sure. I think you can share, right?
So this was the agreement that was signed by the selectmen October of 2017. And right here, trucks will be directed not to use Woodward Street. All trucks will follow the route shown. Go left up above, you can see, go left on South Worcester towards Eddy, head east on Eddy. And then there's a little sketch below here.
Renee, two things also came out of this meeting was we asked Chief Clark to look to see if Waze could make sure there was a way to control truck flow through Waze. And the Chief Clark at that time said that there's no way to control trucks through Waze. And then we also asked Chief Clark if he could just have a traffic evaluation done on that Woodward Street gate as well. and have his traffic safety person look at it. So those were kind of the benchmarks. They weren't high standards. It was more of really kind of an understanding and so forth in that first initial meeting.
Okay, and hey, Mike, there was a section just above what you were sharing. What did that say?
Let me go back to it.
It said, or maybe it said something about when they circle back around. I didn't catch it.
Yep, just tell me when you, I'll go up to the.
Right there. When returning to the facility,
When leaving the facility down here.
keep going down.
Yep.
It's like right at the end of the bullets, it looks like, its own sentence.
So when leaving the facility, all trucks will be directed to travel on the following route and as attached. Go left on South Worcester Street towards Eddy Street. Head east on Eddy Street to 140. Head south on Route 140 and turn left onto Norton Ave to go through the Miles Standish Park.
And then keep scrolling down,
Yep.
under number 2. When returning to the facility, okay, it's just saying all trucks will follow the same route.
Right, yeah,
Okay, that's what I didn't catch, thank you.
yeah.
Also, Renee, as a follow-up on that first meeting, the traffic office, the Norton traffic officer, felt it was not safe. Opening Woodward Street was not safe as the trucks needed the way that the entrance is angled. He felt that it was not safe because of the blind spot and the trucks need to get out onto Woodward, then take the left, and that it's not designed that way. So that was the traffic, that was the kind of all the outcomes of that first meeting.
Okay, so just to give a quick summary, so the discussion was essentially go left out of Worcester, so to follow the agreement in the TIF. Looking at the gate and opening it, the TIF showed that it was closed intentionally based on the TIF that we had asked that. And additionally, I think, Michael, you said the officer was there and said it wouldn't be safe to open it either. And then an option to look at ways to control the truck flow, which is not an option. And then the traffic evaluation, I missed, did you say that was with the chief?
That was with the traffic safety officer.
Okay.
But part of that was to have the chief said that he would look into that he would have additional patrols just to kind of evaluate that area at that time. It wasn't a set schedule saying for the next 6 months. And when the officers kind of reported back, they did a review, and I'll let chief speak to it, but they did send cars over after that first meeting. And the feedback was that they didn't see a large amount of trucks speeding in that area. And I don't want to, Chief Clark, stop me and slap me around if I'm misquoting you.
And Michael, we also talked about looking into the cost of putting a speed sign there to sort of see what that would cost. So we had to get back to Dan about the cost of that. In addition, Dan talked about putting security cameras at their gate because a lot of the space, and Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of the space you said was leased to other people. And because while we were there, we actually witnessed several trucks coming through, and Dan was sort of holding his breath, but it wasn't their trucks, it was other trucks. So there was a discussion about that, but that was also going to be, we're going to have to wait and see on cost of everything.
And Meg, was that the first meeting?
Yeah, that was the first meeting. It was sort of
Okay.
figuring out what was going on and learning what our capabilities would be.
Okay, so I got the cost of the electronic speed sign and then potentially putting up CCTV. Okay. Chief, did you want to give an update on that?
Sure, good evening. So a couple things, I guess. I'll start with the speed sign. So we got a grant through the federal government through EOPS, and we got a speed trailer and 6 electronic solar powered speed signs. That will go up next week at the corner, basically right across the street from 409. It's right on the Home Market Foods side. I was down there with Keith yesterday, and he plotted it out. he's calling dig safe, and he'll, that should be up within a week or so. So, you know, as far as
That's in front of the auto body shop, correct? That's right around that right near the, farther down the road, right in front of the auto body shop, Chief Clark?
Yeah, it's just right around the corner. It's a little, would be west of the auto body shop towards Gaffney Farm.
Okay.
So, you know, certainly we've been down there this week, just about every shift. We have noticed, you know, there's some trucks, usually about 6 to 10, I think, a day. We've actually had a detail officer working in front of there as well, but it's been really light traffic and there's been no violations. I will say the speed limit's 35, and I think that's a fair speed, but I think if you're going 40, I think anything over 40 is going to, is fast. I think, you know, the incident that happened last week, if that's a box truck doing 40 miles an hour or more, I mean, it's going to look like they're going a lot faster, and it's going to definitely look like it's not safe. You know, the report that the officer took last week, the guy admitted he was doing, you know, 5 miles an hour over the speed limit. Maybe he was going more. I don't really know. But I can tell you that I drove that area like 40 miles an hour, and I thought it was a little quick myself, just in a regular car. So, yeah, you mentioned Waze. We did check with Waze. Waze is all temporary stuff. It's not something that they will do long term. So, you know, we could probably do it for a day, but that would be it. We couldn't go back every single day and do it. It would be too much. It's funny, I found a letter today, or a note that I wrote in a file for a discussion I had in about 2008 with Thayer Bryant, who was then the president of Cisco. And he mentioned, you know, that Woodward Street gate, that the town wanted that closed, so that no truck traffic will get down on Woodward Street. So that's kind of where we are with that. I mean, we're still maintaining extra patrols down there. I mentioned there's been a detail officer down there as well, at least in the mornings. We haven't seen a lot of, there's been no violations. You know, I told the officers, if anything's going 5 miles over the speed limit, stop it. If they look like they're going fast, stop it. But there's been nothing this week anyways. So.
For you, Chief?
Yes.
And Chief, I just for clarification, the electronic speed board that's going to go up, the solar powered one, it just is an indicator, visual indicator for drivers, right? There's no recording of the data or pictures or anything like that taken?
There's no pictures taken, no. It is it's basically a radar sign. It'll tell you how fast you're going. It actually has a slow down sign, so we can program it. And if you're going over the speed limit, it'll flash, you know, slow down. So it's a big sign. It's actually bigger than the ones that are in front of LG. You know, they're $6,000 expense, but we got it through a grant, so.
Excellent.
So
yeah,
one
go
of the,
ahead.
if we're just talking about the signage, just so, and this is kind of follow-up of the second meeting and so forth, and this is, Keith can probably explain in a little more detail. I know that we had placed a autistic child sign up on there. Around the area, we've posted no truck signs in the areas that we want to restrict that movement. Obviously, Chief Clark had done a traffic calming sign, that traffic calming sign that he spoke about, and he's actually had a patrol car in the last week, an empty patrol car in the last week there as well, but then obviously his team's observations as well to that. I know Keith's on here, so Keith, I stole your thunder, brother, so I apologize for that. But did I miss something in those signage?
Keith, you want to mention if you don't mind, Madam Chair, the speed humps we talked about?
Yeah, I can mention the speed bumps. They asked what my thought was, and a couple of problems I think you're going to have is speed bumps with the tractor trailers are going to make a lot of noise. Going over them, when they stop and go over them, they're going to hit their air brakes every single time, and they're going to release air, and that's going to make a lot of noise. And then the suspension on the trucks, it's just going to rattle houses going over, stopping and going. I think kids with the cars are gonna go over that thing and they're gonna go real slow and then they're gonna speed up and take off. I just don't think it's a good idea, and it's gonna be a maintenance headache trying to keep them things in place. Cause, you know, the speed bumps are good for, like down at Cape near the ocean or something like that, but it ain't made for a main road. It's just not for big trucks. I wouldn't never try to put those down. It's not gonna work for the town. And I don't even know about liability with the insurance company. I told Mike, you might as well call the insurance company, because if a kid goes over there or somebody goes over there and goes out of control, I don't know if it's legal or not. They could sue us or what. I don't know. So I just don't think it's a good idea. But I am putting the traffic sign up next week. That speed sign will be up. We got it all built right now. We got that done today. So I'm just waiting for dig safe number to clear and we'll be back up.
And just for the record, it was Chief Clark who mentioned the speed bumps, not me. Just for the record, I wanna go on record for that. I mean,
It's a great question. You know, unfortunately, some of the solutions might cause additional concern. So we just need to be conscious of that.
You know, it's so funny when Keith talked about this, you know, that's the first place I went to was the speed bumps. And as I've done a little more research on them and so forth, you know, a lot of the trucks going over these are box trucks. And you might as well just, you're gonna hear an explosion every time. It's gonna sound like an explosion every time one of those box trucks go over there. Forget about the 18-wheelers applying their brakes. So I think that would be adding to the problem. And I think a lot of it is really kind of focusing on, you know, the signage. And one of the suggestions that obviously we're playing with is changing the speed in that area. From Dean Street over to John Scott Boulevard, which I know it takes a little bit, there's some maneuvering between town meeting and some other things that we don't have legal counsel on here to talk about, but it's definitely one of the options that I think the SelectBoard might look at as an option to that area. So.
Yeah, so Michael, can we table that for just a second? I wanted to you had mentioned the signs. So the signs that were put up, the no truck signs, those were recently put up within the past few months, or they've been there?
No, they've been correct. That's correct. I mean, and Keith, correct me, I'm not sure of the timing of it, but I know that there are several new signs. They've made sure that the signs that were up are there, and then I know additional signs have been added.
I put the truck signs up probably a year ago to go left, not right. And probably about a month ago, I put the autistic child sign up, and I put a stop sign somewhere else up that you guys wanted. And if you go down in the end of South Weston near 80th Street, I have the left turn saying where 495 is. So there's signs all over the place. The problem we have, I think, with this whole thing is they have GPS. They're not from around here. They hit the button and they just go whichever way they want to go to get there. You know, it's tough. I mean, I was sitting with Chief Clark and we're sitting there looking at it, and we have a box truck going right down Woodward Street. It's like, okay, they don't care. They're just going what their phone says, you know, and that's tough.
Do we have signs up that say no trucks there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
So is that something that is considered an offense?
Well, yeah, I mean, I put truck signs up before, and the state police can stop. Anybody can stop you if you do it, but you know, we weren't going to chase the truck down the road. We're just doing some observation.
No, I know. I'm asking like the chief. So we put those signs up and somebody's not adhering to them. Your officers have every right to pull them over and issue a citation.
Yeah, it'd be more of a bylaw violation than anything, but yes, they could be charged.
Okay. Any other signage like no engine brake? Because I know Keith, you mentioned about the braking.
Yeah, I have signs on 80th Street that says no engine brakes. And you could put them over there, but if you put those speed bumps in, it's gonna be worse than engine brakes because they be hitting the air brakes every time. So, I mean, it's gonna be worse than engine brakes. And a lot of these new trucks, they're using it's an electric brake instead of an engine brake. It works off the transmission, and they're incredible. You can't hear them. You can't hear it at all. I mean, trucks have come a long ways. They have, and they're quieter. But I'm not sticking up for the trucks. I'm just telling you that they've come a long way. They're not like the old truck with the engine brakes and making all kinds of noise.
Is it your opinion that we don't need additional, like, no enter brake signs near the site?
I don't think there's many trucks with them anymore.
Okay.
So Renee, can I just get you up to date? So we, later, a month or two ago, we did have a meeting with neighbors in, at home market foods as well. Can I just touch base on that meeting as well?
Yeah, please go ahead.
All right. So we had a meeting during that time, and there were several residents that showed up there. And we had it with Home Market Foods and Dan Anderson and I apologize, I don't know his operations person's name, but they were very receptive to this.
Mr. Cossack.
Thank you, Peter. One of the things that came up, and there were, besides the traffic noises, there were several other issues that arose during that, such as lighting, noise. Obviously, traffic was still a large issue, and during that time, you know, it's funny, Mr. Anderson didn't know about many of these issues that he had, and I know that he made efforts to improve that by removing the front lights that were shining into the resident's house. And one of the things that came out of there is that the company was looking at making some investments in the front gate, changing the front gate as it is, and he would look at other options that would make it more traffic friendly or so forth. He also did explore he said he would, during that meeting, said he would explore about re-engineering the Woodward Street Gate. I keep calling it Woodward, I apologize. Those are just some of the other things, and I'm missing a bunch, and I would give him an opportunity to, Mike, do you want to talk about the checklist on that that came out of that meeting, or do you want me to, I can pull it up if you want me.
If you can pull it up, and Dan, I'm sure if Dan doesn't mind, he could talk about some of the things they have done on their property.
Yeah, if you give me once, before he starts, let me just go down the list, and then he can just kind of check what they did and what they didn't do.
And take your time, Michael. I want to mention, if anybody's wondering why we're talking about this, especially if you've been involved and it seems like regurgitation, it's because the board, the SelectBoard, conducts business during these meetings. We do not conduct business on social media. We do not conduct business via email. That's why Meg and Mike were designated to represent the board to follow up with our other town officials. So we're going through this. In this particular instance, so myself and Brad are informed. So if there are any decisions that the board needs to make, we can do so with an educated mind.
So and I'm going to top label this, and I'll let Mr. Anderson kind of address them individually. Some of the concerns were parking near the Woodward Street Gate and lot parking there. Truck traffic transiting over the property along the front of the building. The issues on possibly a security guard. Neighborhood media outputs were about security on the site, the light being removed at the front of the building, adding security, some other security measures. Again, Woodward Street Gate, and basically looking at how much it would cost to reopen it, and is that an option? He said he was open to looking at the cost analysis and all that. Those were the major takeaways. There were obviously, we were listening to other, obviously signage was another issue on there, but at this point I'll pass it and I'll give it to Mr. to talk.
Go ahead, Mr. Anderson.
Sure. So first off, I appreciate you guys having me on here today. You know, a lot of what I'm going to have is going to be a reiteration of what has been brought up already. From that January meeting that we had, we did ultimately bring security on site. So we have a marked car and an officer that is on for limited times, but for a full shift each day. They patrol the outside of the building. They are to check for speeding, any noise complaints, anything along those lines. If there's trucks idling along the front of the building, that's the kind of stuff that this guy is on the lookout for. He reports out about 5 times a day to us, sends written reports out to us. So I feel like we've had some success there with that operation. We did remove lighting from the front of the building. That was a concern to some of the neighbors that said it was shining into their front windows or onto their houses. So we had tried to turn those lights previously, weren't successful there. So we ultimately removed them and we're looking at re-engineering that. And then, you know, we put into our and the money's been approved for it. We're going to do a full suite of cameras along the exterior of the building. So I think we're looking at about 50 to 55 cameras that we're going to install, and we should have full coverage along the outside of our building, both in the front and the back, as well as looking at re-engineering that gate to do some access control measures, specifically in the late night hours. We did look at the Woodward Street gate, and we had some folks give us some quotes on what that would take. I know there's safety concerns that we got from the Norton officers, but in order to, in its current configuration, to repave that area, to widen it, to get a gate that's appropriate, we are looking at somewhere between $850K to about 1.1 million to do that whole pad area that would allow for trucks to be able to transit around there. So I think if the direction was to open up that area, we would probably have to re-engineer that entrance and have it come out onto South Worcester Street as opposed to that intersection, and that would add considerably more cost into that.
Well, and that, Mike, according to what we saw in the TIF, cannot happen, correct? Unless there's an amendment to the TIF, which goes through the proper channels in town meeting?
No, that was a separate agreement. In addition to the TIF. So if that was going to happen, you would just have to amend that agreement.
So what was the document that you showed us? Because I thought that was the TIF.
That before the board would agree to the TIF, they wanted that document signed. So
okay.
It's not incorporated in the TIF itself.
Okay.
I don't believe.
Can we just confirm that? Because I'm not sure what you showed us on screen, if that was the MOU or if that was the TIF.
That was the MOU.
That was the MOU, okay.
I'll review the TIF. I have it right in front of me.
Renee, I was also asked by a resident about special permitting and so forth for the business, and it's been determined that it's in the same usage as Cisco, and there is no outside of the violation. It's within the same scope of the usage of the property. So just wanted to kind of add that. I was asked by residents to look into the permitting and usage of the building as well.
Okay,
So-
great, thank you, Michael. Mr. Noble, one moment. I want to get through the board first, please. So Mike, the other question, I know Michael brought this up about the speed, changing the speed. So Chief Clark, I know you said that, 35 seemed appropriate, but 40 was definitely an excess. So from your perspective, what should the board consider in any change of speed in that area?
Well, the lower the speed, it would enable us to stop cars going at a that lower rate. For example, if you change it to 30 and somebody's doing 35, that's a greater chance that we can stop the car. If you lower it to 25 and somebody's doing 35, that you're 10 miles an hour over the speed limit. I don't have a stat on what the current speeds were. I mean, when I was down there, they were going pretty slow. So, I don't necessarily think the speed limit's bad, but if you're going to consider something in the future, if you wanted to slow it down to 25, I think that would be fine.
Okay, and can I ask both you and Keith, and like when you think about the town and the structure, we have a lot of areas where we have industrial within residential in these mixed zones. How, are they similar where the speed limits are at 35? And I ask this, thinking about, in order for us to change this, we have to go through quite a many of steps with our existing form of government. It's not like we can do something overnight. So I'm wondering, would it make sense for us to take a look at these other areas and consider similar changes too? Like just in your perspective, for what you've seen where you've had complaints, and is it consistent like this area with home market foods versus other similar areas that the speed limit is set?
Well, I'm guessing that the other areas would be 35 miles an hour too, unless it was not posted, then it would most likely be in a thickly settled area that would be 30. I'm not really sure specifically on the areas, outside of the state roads, which are definitely different, which you'd have no control over, like 123 or 140. South Washington Street, that's probably a 35-mile-an-hour zone. You know, we don't really get a lot of complaints in the area of the Commerce Center. You know, we'll see what Leonard Street brings, but there's really, the houses on Leonard Street are around the corner. So, I mean, you know, to be honest with you, this right now this is the hot topic. Southwest Street is definitely the hot topic.
Yeah. And Keith, anything to add?
No, most of the roads, like you said, is 30 to 35 around town. And they're not too bad, but I know town council in here, but if you look into this, changing the speed limit, you have to do a study and a survey, and it could go the wrong direction. So I don't, it's a real weird way of how they do the speed limits, but they do they have someone that just counts all the cars, how fast they're going, and then they do a study, and then it could actually go the wrong way. It could actually go.
They take the 80th percentile. So whatever the 80th percent of the cars, that's what the speed limit would be. Unless you went through, you know, you could have town meeting adopt that new legislation, and then I think you could do it on your own.
Yeah, and Mike, based on the information that you got from town council, that would be, under our current form of government, we would have to have a town meeting, have an article on there to have the town adopt that specific chapter and section to allow the select board to change the speed limit without Mass DOT, right?
Correct.
And or an engineering study, if I read that correctly.
Right. If you didn't have that law, you could do what Keith was saying, have an engineering study. But if you did adopt that statute, then you could change the speed limit without doing that.
I'm with it. Let's go. Let's do it.
You make it sound so easy. Unfortunately, both our warrants for the annual town meeting and special town meeting are closed. So at best, we're looking at October.
That's fine. Let's just get it on October then.
I checked out on Google Maps and the speed limit on Southwestern Street is 35 and the John Scott Boulevard speed limit is 45.
Thanks, Peter.
Welcome.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Michael.
I do think that I think it's something that maybe we do push off into the fall and we do look into it, because I think the one thing has been the 6 months that I've been on select board, the one call I get that is consistent is about traffic and speed. And it's obviously, we all know the challenge. And you know, it's something that I think that we need to look at a little bit closer, and we're not going to be doing traffic studies. We're not going to be doing those things, but having the ability to work with the chief and Keith to really determine some of the measures of what certain limits are is I think important. So I think, you know, this is not a subject for tonight or a vote tonight, but I do think maybe come fall, we look at that as adding that, giving the select board power to change the speed limit in certain areas.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, Michael. I think we could probably have a discussion when we have the full board here about that as well. And then we can have further discussion with town council about how that would happen. Okay, anything else, Michael, Brad, or Meg, that you wanted to add on the meeting?
I think one of the things that I wanted to be kind of give my empathy to the neighbors, because I understand some of the frustrations and they want kind of things happen so quickly. You know, it's not been lost. Your concerns have not been lost on the board but we obviously, we have two parties that have different things, and it's not one of those things that gets fixed overnight. So we are committed to making sure that, and Mr. Anderson and Hallmark Foods has been committed as well to working with us. But I want to make sure that everyone knows that we're very concerned that these are not issues that have ever disappeared from our eyes. I know Meg and I have talked about this issue and worked with Mike Units and Chief and Keith. So, and Mr. Anderson. So I just wanted to let that know, that tell the citizens, like, I know it sounds weird right now, we're in factual, just explaining what we've been doing, but I just wanted that to be known on the point.
No, I appreciate that, Michael. And I think, you know, again, like I mentioned, we do our business here. Like this is what we're required to do by the state, which is why we ask certain members to go off and try to help. So if there's nothing else from the board, Mr. Noble, you wanted to add something?
Yes, so first I want to thank Jack, Mike, and Megan for responding back to me. I wrote a pretty succinct and detailed letter. I didn't hear back from any others, so I was a little disappointed.
Mr. Noble, as I mentioned, we are not permitted to conduct board business. Like, we were actually in violation by doing that, so you would not hear from all board members.
That's
So
okay.
if I would appreciate if, and speaking for the fellow board, right, if there's an issue, we would be more than welcome to bring you into any of our meetings to have a discussion. But that is unfortunately the law. We don't like it. We would much rather, like that, when we hear something, pick up the phone and have a conversation about it, what we can do, but unfortunately, we are not able to do that based on open meeting law.
Okay, and it was nothing about that, it was just sending empathy. So I don't think I need to read the whole letter. I posted it on social media. I emailed each and every board member and the town manager, and I sent hard copies. So to paraphrase, a box truck, I calculated, my background is engineering. I calculated the fence posts at how quickly the truck was going and the feet, and it was certainly going more than 40 miles per hour. So now I know I'm gonna get a ticket from Chief Clark, I'm kidding, but it was going more than 40. And it was without a doubt. I calculated it, it was math. And it literally almost hit my wife and kid. And one thing I want to add is, and I spoke to Mike about it, perception is key. You all may have been working on it. There was no updates to anyone, none. So kudos to working on it, but if you don't update the citizens, they're going to get more and more upset. So I suggest that the board be more vocal. I do agree with the speed bumps. When a box truck goes over a bump in the front of the building, it sounds like a bomb went off. I appreciate the radar sign, but I'll be honest, when I was a kid, I'd floor it and see how fast I could get, right? If I could reach, 60 or 70. I mean, let's all admit it. Some of us have done it. If there's no camera, it's not going to do any good because they're not following any of the laws now. So I see it as pointless. But if we're getting it for free, why not? One thing I did want to correct you, Megan, I think you kind of corrected it, is you mentioned there were 2 entrances. There's only one. The Woodward is not open. At the beginning of the meeting, you mentioned there were two entrances when you had started. So I just wanted to bring that up as well. And I want to ask each and every one of you that have kids, a family, spouse, that are walking along the street. And I know Dan doesn't have $1 million in his back pocket. I'll tell you what, though, if my wife and kid were hit and killed, they'd home, I don't know the legalities, but they'd be paying a lot more than $1 million. So I really urge that you push it harder, Dan. We've had offline discussions. And additionally, Chief Clark, I appreciate seeing cruisers out there. And I'm not going to tell you how to do your job, but where you place the cruisers, every truck sees you coming when they come around the corner, and they don't pick up speed until they get around the corner. So, I don't know the legalities of you maybe parking on Gaffney Farm Drive 20 feet back. I guarantee you're going to catch speeders. And I don't want to have to repeatedly get in my car and chase someone and corner them and start yelling and demand they come out. So that way I can get their name and then give it to Dan. And to Dan's credit, they're all contractors. So a lot of them come here, they don't live here, they don't care. So if they see the speed limits, the radar sign, they're not going to care. They come in, they drop off and then take off, and they may never be here again. So I appreciate everything that's been discussed right now, but and I'll be honest, I've received several Facebook messages and texts. None of it is really discussing the main concern, and that's the box trucks flying down the road. And there's, you know, a couple people on here that have almost been hit walking their dog, cutting their grass. South Worcester is not a wide street. So if you have two 18-wheelers going side by side and they're going 35 or 40, right? They're not stopping, and they're not going to hit each other. Where are they going to go? They're going to go to one side, or they're going to go to the other. And who's ever walking the dog or cutting their grass is going to get hit or clipped. One person on here was almost hit this past year on his cutting his grass. So, you know, when I referenced other meetings and whatnot, this has been going on for a long time. So I kind of had the last straw when my wife and son were almost hit, and there were multiple witnesses to it. And I'm sorry, but a radar sign is not going to help, again, unless there's a camera.
So Mr. Noble, let me ask you, because
Sure.
while you said you don't want to tell the chief how to do his job, you then said move the car so that you can catch it. I
suggest.
Right, and I think I like his approach of having the cars there so the trucks never get to that speed and present that danger to us. But what would you suggest we do as a town outside of what's been discussed here tonight that we're not considering to make this safer? Because we all do agree that this should not happen. We all do care. We take the safety of the town residents and anyone visiting here very seriously. But what are your suggestions that we
Sure.
can consider?
So the first thing is, when you have a big cruiser all the way on the side of Home Market Foods, like anyone, you see it when you take the corner. So people slow down. I was not surprised when he mentioned they caught no one speeding. I mean, let's all be realistic. We all go a little bit faster sometimes. You see a cruiser, you hit the brakes. I know they have radar and LiDAR and laser and all that, but I've also seen state police hidden under overpasses, and pretty much if you're going too fast, you're caught. I've been at fault for that. So the moment the police leave, trucks are going faster again. Now, I've looked into spending a couple $100 and putting a camera on a tree and filming the trucks coming, because I don't have time to be driving and chasing people. But anyone sees a cruiser, they're going to slow down. And again, that curve that you showed is they can't really pick up speed until past that curve. And that's when they give it, start to give it speed, because I've watched it. But as soon as they take the corner, there's a cruiser there, so no one's going to speed up. Additionally, on the Woodard Gate, it was brought up that people were nervous about a truck taking a left. I purposely went out and measured. A truck cannot take a left onto Woodard, an 18-wheeler. They would be driving about 20 feet onto that house's grass. So I'm very confident in saying that's impossible. So, those are a couple of my suggestions. We can call the Mass DOT. I have a family member that's a driver. We can start having them do safety checks and start showing them that we're serious. The security guard that Dan had hired, I had stopped and spoken to. I had it on my dashboard, on my dash cam. He came out and said that a lot of the truck drivers joke around and say they don't even have a license. And I have it recorded. So I said, please talk to Dan about it. So, there's a lot of things going on, and little things that are going to help. But I'm just being completely blunt because I don't know what to do anymore. If you witness that happen, it hurts. It really burns you. And when I put that on Facebook, immediately people started supporting me and getting upset and saying this was brought up years ago and forgotten. So I want to make sure it's not forgotten. And, again, maybe I'm selfish, but if it costs $1 million to set up the Woodward Gate so trucks can't speed and possibly kill someone, then, that's something that I think Dan needs to push harder. It just, like I said, maybe the cruisers can be hidden. Again, I'm not a police officer. I have family members that are. It's one of the hardest jobs. There's a police officer in my neighborhood. I talk to him a lot. Utmost respect. So I'm not telling him, you know, maybe it came off across I did. I'm not telling him how to do his job, but I'm just saying, we watched it. I sat there and watched it while they were there. And just by sheer luck, there was maybe 6 trucks and they were going extra slow. They leave and then it goes back to the same thing again because they saw he was gone. So it's just, I'm just stating the fact is, and again, I'll put a camera up and show and prove it and you know, show everyone. But that's just, you know, the truth. And I know I'm pretty strongly opinionated now. And I thank you, Keith, for putting up the autistic child signs. I have 2, and that's the issue. It's a small bus. And my wife was has to be on the opposite side of the road because the kids with special needs have to be on the side of the home market foods. So any trucks going that way get, that are going slightly above, especially when they're that big of a truck and you feel the wind and it almost sucks you in. It's scaring me. And my wife genuinely was scared. And I had people at my house doing work and I said, I gotta go, I gotta chase them. And they were like, go ahead. And so
we certainly don't want to put you in further danger in that regard. But no, you know, Mr. Noble, we totally understand. And again, that's the reason why we're here to try to figure this out. And as you were talking, Mike, can you reach out to Dr. Bayetta and ask about why the kids have to be on the side of home market foods for a bus stop?
I will.
Okay.
I mean, they could reverse the way they're coming so that, you know, when they get off, it's on the other side. But, you know, when the way they come, it's on that side.
They couldn't turn around on Gaffney Road, possibly, if they actually turned onto your road.
Yeah, I mean, they could, but.
And I think that's a Matt Wells question, not a Mike, not a Dr. Bayetta question, but yeah, I mean.
Because I had an issue on Reservoir Street with my kids and the buses, and they were able to, there was multiple buses. We were able to do something that they didn't have to cross the road because it was so dangerous.
Right, so like in this case, it's dangerous to cross the road, right? So yeah, so we'll Mr. Noble, we'll take that offline. We'll ask Mike to follow up with the schools on that and see if there's anything that they can suggest or work with Chief Clark on a potentially safer option. Chief, if that would be okay, if I just nominate you for that. Okay, thank you, Mr. Noble. Are there any other comments?
If I can just add, I just want to add one thing, that it's a great idea, but it's a Band-Aid. Like you said, people walk their dog, people walk their dogs. So if it's dangerous to do it, we need to fix the root problem, you know, and I know, so I just want to reemphasize that it is very dangerous. So I hope.
Madam Chair?
Yeah, hold on 1 second. Mr. Noble, are you done?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I was just reemphasizing that, you know, it is dangerous, and moving the bus stop and onto the street is great. They can turn around in the cul-de-sac, but it's still dangerous for everyone else. That, you know, we have bike riders, especially with COVID now, everyone's bike riding and walking their dogs. And so it's still, you know, it helps my kids, but I'm also, you know, trying to help all the other residents in this area as well. So I just wanted to add that, and I spoke a lot, so I'll be quiet.
That's fine. We appreciate that, and you know, I think we all have the same goal here, and it's going to be it may be little by little of things that we can do to make it a safer place, but we have to begin somewhere. Chief, did you have any comment or want to respond?
No, not in particular. I mean, I think he mentioned that he has a neighbor that's a police officer. Listen, we talked to Sergeant Turcotte about this. I mean, he's not seeing the same thing, and I think, you know, to Mr. Noble's part about people speeding up, well, I mean, that may happen, But we also do selective enforcement where we put a car at a different location and we stop them from there. So my experience when we put out a speed monitor is people slow right down when they see their speed. That's my professional opinion about it. So, if the select board doesn't want to put it there, but if it's going to be a waste, then we can put it someplace else in town. I mean, they are expensive and I think they'll be of good value and use.
I mean, I'll ask the fellow members, but I support your opinion and your judgment on that, and I think it's a good idea to put it there. And Meg, Michael, or Brad, please chime in otherwise.
I would agree.
Yeah, again, it goes with, we just have to sort of start somewhere and start figuring out what we can do to make it safe.
Yeah, I know personally, maybe I'm paranoid, but whenever I come by one of those signs, I don't try to find out how fast I can go, but how many miles an hour under the limit I can actually get by. So.
Okay, thank you. And somebody had chimed in, I think, from Ruth's iPad. I'll give you a minute to unmute.
Okay. Can you hear me now, Madam Chair?
I can. If you can just identify yourself, please.
I'm George Harris. I live at 381 South Woodson Street. I'm across the street from Mr. Noble, who has 4 children, beautiful little children. And I live next door to 4 little boys on the other side. Just concerned about these. And I'm Mr. Noble. I did call the school this morning and spoke to the transportation director, and she's looking into the idea of taking a special needs bus up Gaffney Farm Road, and she's going to check the cul-de-sac to make sure that it's sufficient to turn around there. But if I may, Madam Chair, I come to look at I don't know what.
Mr. Harris, can you get a little closer? We had you clearly, and then you went.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Like I told the judge one time, I won't yell at you, I'll yell to you. So anyway, I'm looking at the MOU of 10/17, and it's showing a blue line, approved route per 10/17 MOU. And that goes into the Wooded Bridge. And
We really need you to speak up louder. You're fading off. We're having trouble hearing you.
all right, I'm yelling as loud as.
That's better. Whatever you're doing right there is perfect.
All right, I'll keep yelling at you. Not at you, to you. Thank you.
It's okay. We like to
You're the
yell,
first one to
Michael.
yell at me, Mr. Hess.
I wear hearing aids. And I'm wondering why that map ever was in existence if we're not using a wooded gate. And I'm looking at your town meeting, your selectmen's meeting of, I think it was, where was it? 10/1/2020. And that map was brought up. And also, and looking, let me get something else up here. But as far as, those artistic signs were up there when this incident happened last Friday. So much for the signs. So much for the signs for no turning right. No, I asked the police officer why they don't stop trucks on Woodard Street. And I was informed that they did not have the jurisdiction. Now, it may be the chief could come to bring some light to that if he could. Is there some reason why you can't enforce that?
Like I said earlier, it'd be a bylaw violation. The signs on Woodward Street specifically say that no trucks that exceed 3 tons are allowed there. So I don't really know why the officer specifically said that, but
I've also, and I've also followed 18-wheelers down there. And like Mr. Noble has pointed out, and I've pointed out, and I think Mike can appreciate this,
that it's simply impossible to take a left out of Woodard Gate to go down Woodard Street. Equally as difficult to turn right to go down South Worcester Street. The only option of those trucks would be directly out to Eddie and John Scott. That would eliminate that. We're talking about 8 little children. And I'd hate to have anything happen to any one of them. I don't know where people feel as though that these trucks have to come down a quarter mile from Woodard down to the security gate, go through the security gate, and do 35 miles an hour up through the parking lot that never was used by trucks for Cisco, and go back up within 100 feet of Woodard Gate. And again, there has been a change of use of this property. Instead of one company being in jurisdiction of that entire property, there are at least six different companies in jurisdiction. And I've been told that one company has a lease to purchase an agreement. If that's true, when did we see a subdivision? And let me bring out another point. There are 2 open gates. There's one that Decor uses, Decor and Thermo King. And they had 2 gates at one time. Their neighbor across the street from the first gate, from the security gate, went over and talked to the managers of Decor and Thermo King and said that these trucks are coming out and tearing up the apron of their driveway. Well, by gosh, you know what happened? One of those managers walked out with them and closed that gate. That's how concerned those people were for the neighborhood. I'd like to see other people to follow that example and be a little more concerned about, not about our apron and our driveway, but our children in our neighborhood, all less than 9 years old.
Mr. Harris, are you talking about gates on the property at 380 South Worcester? Or are you talking about a different property?
What's that? 380? No, that's 380 South Worcester.
You're talking about the property that we've been speaking about. That
Yes,
there's no gate?
Yes.
Okay.
Thermo King and Decor are actually in the maintenance building of Cisco, the truck maintenance building. And they parked their vehicles out back of that building. So they had 2 gates open. They now have only 1 gate open. But it is all part, and they're leasing from Whole Market Food. And it's not Whole Market Food that's being a problem with these trucks, it's their tenants. And as I said before, as I just said a couple of seconds ago, there's only one manager of the whole company. And the wife had trouble back when Cisco first came here, and Cisco turned around and did everything possible to make this a quieter, more conducive family neighborhood. 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, I can hear people jailbreaking. And it vibrates our house right through my pillow, by the way. And you put up all the signs you want. They're not going to adhere to them. And I know I have a jailbreak, I have an engine brake on my motorhome. And I know what that does. And I don't use it unless I'm out on the highway and when I'm getting off an exit. That's the only time I use it. And I turn it off after that. But these long haulers are running straight stacks and they're vibrating our house. And okay, and I gotta go back to something else so I can find it where we're here. Come on.
Mr. Hayes, in the interest of time, I know that you gave us some follow-up points, but is there anything that you wanted to add to the conversation that the
Yes, I
to
do.
take under consideration.
Yes, and under the zoning laws, and I'm looking at, let me get it up here. Oh, why did they, okay, where is it? Prohibited. Okay, whoops, stay where you're at. 075-4.6, prohibited uses. Any use which would be harmful, detrimental, hazardous, offensive, or would intend to reduce the property values in the district where it is located by reason of excessive dust, dirt, glare, odor, fumes, smoke, refuse, noise, vibration, electrical, electronic references, water pollution, dangerous explosion, radiation, fire, and any other reason is hereby prohibited, whether or not around the use of other permitted districts. And that brings another point. Prior to this owner, and between Cisco, there's an ammonia leak. I would like to have the board maybe look at what type of alarms are on the ammonia system. I've worked in paper mills where we had to install chlorine alarms. So there are chemical alarms that can be installed. In fact, I pulled my tool buddy out of a silo that was affected. And at this chlorine, another place up in New Hampshire that I worked, I'm Corps of Engineers, Ice Engineering, they brought chilled water up and they had an ammonia leak. They deboiled the entire bank of the Connecticut River. So this is another danger that this company presents to our neighborhood. But I'd really like to have Watergate open and line of sight is there for the truckers. They're not coming bombing out of there. They come out of blind alleys in towns and cities. They can do it in our little town. And I see no reason whatsoever, except maybe cost, and I brought this up to Dan at our meeting, and he got a little upset with me, that the cost is more prevalent in their relationship than the safety of our children. And now, Madam Chair, I thank you very much. And I'll stop yelling.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. I lost Mike's units.
George, don't stop yelling ever.
Thank you.
So I know two people have raised their hand. Mr. Anderson, I lost you on my screen, but please go ahead if you have a response.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to clarify a couple points. Thermo King is a separate company and it's not on the same property as us. When I think it was probably before we purchased the property, it was split. So that's a separate parcel. There is no lease to purchase agreement. And I'm happy to say that there is no agreement in the works right now that would involve any of our tenants that would then purchase the building from us. I think the 6 different companies probably includes Thermo King. We do not have 6 companies on site. Harmonia system, we do get weekly PMs on that, and it is alarmed with multiple escalation levels. So I just wanted to clarify those couple points.
Great, thank you.
Madam Chair?
One second. We have a lot of ideas and issues here, so I'm going to close public comment here in a moment. And I'd like, I'm assuming is Mr. Farley. He's raised his hand. If you have a comment that we haven't discussed, please give it. If we have discussed, I'd like to move on.
It is different. I am at 21 Woodward Street, so I'm right in the middle. So my question kind of is, now that I'm hearing that there's multiple responsible parties in that spot that with different trucks involved, I see 2 trucks come down Woodward the other night. You know, I don't want to yell at Dan if they're not HMF trucks, but there's no identifiable markings on any of these box trucks. So who do I go to in those cases to know who they belong to? And secondly, you asked Mr. Noble for ideas on what the town could, additional suggestions on what the town could do. I think it should be directed more to HMF and the parties in that complex. Suggestion would be, do we have any supervisory checks of the routes? Do we have a car out there once in a while, either at the corner of Woodward or out at Eddy Street to, do a little spying on their drivers? I think that's an easy way for the HMF and whoever else is in there to take some additional responsibility for their drivers.
Great, thank you, Mr. Farley. And Mr. Enos, and I'll just follow up on that, and then I have a question for Mr. Enos, but I know that these are third-party providers, but from the perspective of any company, you assume the risk of your third parties, right? So I think you do have the accountability to do some due diligence there, not necessarily the suggestion that was provided, but we would hope that you would reach out to some of your vendors and some of the companies and voice your concerns and see what can be done.
Yeah, sure. And if I may, I am I'm the landlord of the building, right? So it is my responsibility to work with all of our tenants and make sure that they're doing. I do reach out to the corporate leadership, especially the box trucks. It's very easy. It's one tenant that has box trucks, so it's very easy for me to narrow that down and go straight to their leadership. I will tell you, on top of that, we have and we will continue to work with our legal team and take all appropriate remedies that are allowed underneath the legal. So I can't speak to specifics of any active legal discussions that we're having, but I can tell you that I'm in very, very close communication with our legal team and to enforce those remedies that we have. Okay, great.
And Mike, from perspective, we've heard a lot of things. So my concern obviously is that issues are being heard and that you guys are having discussions, which I think is happening. But from the perspective of what can we do and what can we plan for in the future to try to mitigate these concerns? Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you would recommend that the board consider, or that you would suggest to your department heads?
The only thing that you haven't talked about that would be the only other possibility would be putting sidewalks in that neighborhood. And I also suggest that the board, if the Woodard Gate is ever thought to be open, that the neighbors on Woodard Street be contacted, because obviously there had to have been a concern previously, maybe from those neighbors, and that's why that gate they were told to keep that gate closed. So at some point in time in history, obviously the people on Woodard Street didn't want that gate open. So if that's something that is going to be looked at, we really should reach out to those people also.
Okay, can we do that? And you have a date on that too. Can we go back and just scan the meeting minutes and see if it's come up and we documented what those issues may have been, and we can take those under consideration?
Yep.
Okay, so we have just for the board here, Michael and Meg, I suspect you guys will continue to represent the board and work with Mike and his team, as well as Mr. Anderson as needed. And to Mr. Noble's point, I mean, let's plan on having this agenda item, right? Again, communication needs to come through the board first before it goes out. So let's make sure that at our next meeting and in those consecutive meetings that we have this as a topic, so we can talk about where we are in the process and then make sure we communicate appropriately. And I say that not expecting that everybody has time to sit on our meeting. So, but we do need to have internal discussion on that first. And then Chief, can you come back to us, once you and Keith get that device up, and you keep some of the officers in the area and let us know what you're finding?
Will do.
Okay, and I think that'll just help to inform us when we group on whether or not we consider moving forward with the speed limit change. That'll inform us in that decision.
Madam Chair?
Go ahead, Michael.
Can I just pick up, can we just put it as a kind of an agenda item by May 1st, that there will be an update to the select board on just where this whole stands? We may do it prior to that and just kind of this, but let's just set it, our next meeting around May 1st, that we'll have an update to the community by then. on any.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about having an update, like, let's not commit because we don't know what's going to happen. What I'd like to do is, I don't think it's fun for us to keep it on as an agenda item, and if we don't have an update, we just say that, right? But at least we have, we don't lose sight of it, and I think that's, it's tough. We're coming into, I mean, we've been meeting, multiple times a week right now because of the annual and special town meeting, so it can very easily slip our minds, and then before we know it, we're past May. But I do appreciate that, and I think it's a good idea for us to internally commit to doing that.
Yeah.
Mike, you'll follow up also on the Woodward Gate too, and see what that is. From a sidewalk perspective, how would we anticipate looking at that? Is there a survey that takes place?
I talked to Keith about that, and that's something that he would have to use Chapter 90 money to do that.
Okay, is that something that requires pre-planning and a lengthy approval process?
I don't know how much the approval process will be, but it would require engineering and surveying work.
Okay, is that something that we would have to allocate money? And can the board do that, or is that something that's going to have to go through a town meeting?
It could come through a town meeting or Chapter 90 money.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead, Michael.
2 things. Mike, I'm not sure if this area is designated in our priority list of sidewalks and so forth, but could we just look to see whether if this falls, it's in there, and if it falls in that, I know we have a projected list of priority sidewalk areas. I forget what the report's called. It's escaping me, but I know that
Master plan.
it's not the master plan, but it's part of the master plan. It's the you know what it's called.
I know what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It has the severities, like around the schools is kind of number one. 123 was on there, right, Michael? That's the one you're talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And then one more point. Mike, can we send a formal letter to Spirit Delivery asking them to appear in front of the select board for a couple of things. Understanding of their business, and they seem to be playing a larger part in this than, and I understand Mr. Anderson, their tenant, Mr. Anderson's, but that doesn't mean it's his whole responsibility outside of his gates of his building. But they seem to be operating in this town. Plus, I think there are some other issues that might be in other departments that I think there might be some issues with that business in town. And I think that might be, I'm not sure if they'll show or they'll list, but I think we should send them a letter asking them to appear in front of the select board just to get some understanding of their business. But that's out of line. If you tell me if that's out of line, but I don't think it is.
I'll send them a letter.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, may I say something very quick as a resident?
Please, go ahead. Introduce yourself, please.
My name's Rebecca Cleary, and I live at 425 South Worcester Street. So my driveway is directly across from Jackson Street, which hasn't been mentioned yet. And we have seen trucks go down Jackson Street several times. In fact, one time a truck went down, realized was not the right way, backed up into my driveway and took out part of our stone wall. I've lived here for 15 years. The speed is definitely a concern, and I would like the board to realize too that from Woodward Street to Eddy Street, John Scott Boulevard, every single house has children. And the street is not safe to walk because of the trucks. We cannot walk our dogs safely. My children cannot ride their bikes. It is not safe. And these trucks have made it worse. And I had one question that maybe Mr. Anderson could answer, or the board could. I was just curious, how many trucks, is there an amount allowed to go in and out of that building every day? Because those trucks go 24/7. Sometimes more trucks than others. So I was just curious if there is a limit as to how many trucks should be coming in and out of that building. Thank you.
So Dan, I don't know if you're aware that that's typically a condition of the permit, the site permit. Or I might be calling it something different, but
no,
I don't know if you're aware of that, the hours of operation, if there are any restrictions on that. If you're not aware, we'll follow up with the planning board.
I'll start. Was that a question to me about the restrictions?
Yep. Are there hours of operations defined for deliveries?
Yeah, so I'm not aware that there are any hours of operations restrictions. We do have, at least at one of our businesses, a 24-hour operation. I would say that during the overnight hours, it is drastically reduced from probably 9 p.m. to 5 or 6 a.m. But we do have the box trucks generally leave the facility from one of our tenants starting around between 5 and 7 a.m. The traffic will decrease throughout the day until they start coming back. But on average, you're looking at probably 25 trucks a day of the 18-wheelers between inbounds and outbounds for home market foods, and a handful of other deliveries that would go into the tenant locations as well.
Okay, thank you. And Michael, you've already talked about whether or not conditions were being met appropriately, right?
That's correct. And from what I have not actually seen it. I had someone review it. I had Paul Giuseppe review it, and he did not see any violations of this, but I didn't dig into the hours of operation on that.
Okay. Mike, can you take that as a takeaway just to see if there are any restrictions that Dan and team should be aware of?
Yeah. I think it's important, it did come up, Madam Chair, that, people kind of say, well, it says there is no real defined usage there. It's an industrial use building of a food distributor with trucks, with usage of trucks. I think people think that this is a well-defined usage of the building. That is not what these special permits typically are.
No, it's not size and scope. It's telling you what you can operate in there.
Correct. That's correct.
Yep.
And,
no, understood. And again, it's par for the course. I mean, it's an industrial zoned area. Unfortunately, it abuts a residential area, and to get to it, you're going to residential areas too. It's not, to the chief's point, it is something that at this point is a higher priority, but this is not something that we don't have around town. I mean, I have it on my street. I'm not a big fan of walking my kids or dogs on the street, and I'm usually in the middle of the street to make sure that the cars move over, because, all you need is one child to trip and they're in the middle of the road. So we deal with it all over town. Let's figure out what we can do to try to minimize it there and make the area a little safer. And I think, Mike, to your point, I think the sidewalks are a good discussion to have, and it'll keep people away from the road a little bit more. So on that note, unless the board has anything further on this item, we're going to move on with our agenda. And we will keep this on as a talking point for our next meeting. And just for those who attended, meeting minutes are available for our meetings, but the recordings are almost immediately available the next day. So, we don't expect for everybody to attend a meeting to understand what's going on, but you do have the option to watch one or read the meeting minutes later. Additionally, if there are questions, you can always reach out to us or Mike Units. I will, double that back with, we cannot conduct town business via email. So send us something if you want to have an opportunity to speak to the board. We'd love to have you. Okay, with that, let's move back up to, well, Mike, let me ask you, is there anything on the agenda, because it's pretty late here. Is there anything on the agenda where we have other people that we want to take out of order potentially?
No, there isn't.
Okay. So,
back to January 1993 when.
Peter, we need to move on, okay? We'll talk about that in a bit. Thank you. Okay, so let's bring it back to the top under appointments, resignations, and retirements. We have the resignation of Mark Sweeney from the Recreation Commission. Mike, we don't have to vote any of these, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So is there, Mr. Toole, is there something that you'd want to read into record?
Sure, I'll be glad to, Madam Chair. Dear Select Board, please accept my resignation for the Recreation Commission effective immediately. Mark Sweeney, dated March 9th, 2021.
Okay, thank you. So that leaves us, go ahead, Michael.
The next one is March 22nd, 2021. Dear Mr. Units, please accept the document of full resignation. My last day as Director of Parks and Recreation will be Thursday, April 1st, 2021. It has been a sincere pleasure to serve the residents of Norton. Sincerely, Sharon Rice.
Okay, thank you, Michael. So certainly want to extend a heartfelt thank you to both Mark Sweeney for his time on the Recreation Commission, and well, I won't say who he's been in the past in case there are little ears listening, but and a huge thank you to Sharon. I mean, I think she did a fantastic job during the pandemic to try to bring some normalcy to multiple people around the town. I think she's a huge loss to us, and hopefully sometime in the future we'll have her back doing something with us. But wish her the best of luck in her new endeavor.
Madam Chair, I would also just say the same thing. She's actually on the EDC as a resident, but she was a real addition and a pleasure to work with in town, and she will be missed greatly. But with that being said, Mr. Town Manager, are we accepting applications yet? Has this job been posted?
It has been posted and we are accepting applications.
Okay, and how would someone go about applying for this position?
They can send a letter and they can find an application form on the town website. If they just go on to the town website, they'll see that, and they can contact me if they have any questions.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
No, thank you, Michael. Okay, the next item is the appointment of the select board representative to the Serpent Commission for the new year 2021 to 2022, and I see our existing representative, Ms. Sandy Ollerhead, on the call. Sandy, did you want to make any comments or express your interest in continuing in this capacity?
I'm definitely interested in continuing if you'll reappoint.
Excellent. So the chair will entertain a motion to appoint Mrs. Sandy Ollerhead as a select board representative to the Serpent Commission for 2021 to 2022.
So moved.
Seconded.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Michael. We'll do a roll call vote. Brad?
Can I have discussion or no?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Miss Ollerhead, can you just give us maybe an elevator spiel of Serpent and your involvement and what you guys are working on?
Yeah, so Serpent and lots of different things, obviously for Norton doing the master plan right now, which has been great. They just had that workshop last night. Working a lot of different angles in terms of COVID support and things like that. At the end of every meeting, they do a nice roundtable with four different ideas of things that are going on in the different towns, which is always interesting to hear, and try to forward that along to you folks whenever I see something that might be applicable for Norton.
That's for economic development in the area, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's economic development, it's transportation, they do, all sorts of different areas. They were instrumental in the rail trail and getting that started. We're still waiting for the final build, but they were definitely, helpful in all different areas.
Thank you.
And Mike, is there something on the town meeting warrant about the rail trail?
There's a placeholder there, just in case.
Okay.
We still have 125,000 set aside for any appraisals or takings that we haven't had to use yet. So we're looking to see if we'll need any more.
Okay. And Sandy, I don't know, are you able to stay on a bit longer so we get to that topic?
Yep, I can stay on.
Okay. Mike, is that something we expect? I should ask first, is that something we expect under a review of the?
We have not determined that we need any money yet. So not yet.
Okay. So Sandy doesn't need to stay on for this, or Sandy, are there updates that you may have? And then I'm going to get back to your appointment.
Are you asking if I have any updates, or?
Yeah. Are there going to be updates that you may have?
I don't have any updates. I was just kind of curious as to what the latest was.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's we'll then come back to that. Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay. We'll do a roll call vote. Meg? Oh, is Meg frozen?
I think Meg is frozen.
I think Meg's frozen too. Does she know that she's frozen?
Because she's not even moving.
Let's see if she.
That's her profile picture, so it always looks like she's in the meeting.
Did you guys hear about the new thing going on when people are doing 60-second clips, video
Right.
clips, and then they step away.
Yeah.
Okay, she lost internet. So let's give her just 1 second to come back.
We brought this up on the infrastructure meeting last night about the internet services in town. There we are.
There she is. It's okay.
The internet just went. You all froze.
No, we didn't freeze. You froze. We're like, is that present? So Meg, we were having discussion. I don't know what point you cut off, but we have a motion and a second to appoint Sandy, and then we were having some discussion, and then we were actually in the middle of going to a vote.
Yeah, no, I was just as about to, yeah, yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna vote yes if we've already said.
Perfect. No, we were waiting for you. Okay, Brad?
Yes.
I thought you froze for a second too. Michael?
Aye.
And I also say yes.
I'm just lazy.
Yeah. So that is unanimous. Sandy, thank you for your service here. We certainly have appreciated your insight on the EDC and the select board. So we appreciate that, and welcome to another year.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't have anything that I'm showing under licenses and permits. Are there any announcements?
There is one in the packet. It's a long letter from the Conservation Commission. Do you want me to read it, Madam Chair? It's regarding, regarding
The boating and water access master plan?
yeah, I believe that's it, yeah.
Yep, is it something to read or something to discuss?
I believe it was in the announcement section, but I'll.
Okay, no, go ahead. I just lost my packet, so I can't tell.
Yeah, no, it looked like it was in the order of announcements, so.
Okay.
Some dates coming up when there's gonna be meetings and residents can be there.
So I'll just read it real quick. March 29th, 2021. Dear residents, at the fall meeting, town meeting 2020, we received funding to hire our regional planning agency, Southeastern Planning and Economic Development District, SERPID, to assist in creating a boating and water access master plan. The purpose of the plan is to provide better access to our water bodies and waterways with better signage and appropriate parking. We would like to designate certain town properties as designated boat launch areas. As some of you are aware, access to our water bodies and waterways is limited. The few parcels we do have are too small and heavily utilized during peak hours and times of the year. Our hope is to create multiple access points for each of the water bodies that will relieve some of the pressure felt by residents. The projects will be multi-phase projects and take a few years to complete. Access to the ponds and boating, fishing, and for the residents who live near the boat launch areas. For information, please visit the website I'm not going to read the website, but it will be available. I'll make it available at the conservation websites. But we've scheduled meetings for the following locations and dates. The first one being Saturday, April 10th, 2021, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Evergreen. Saturday, April 10th, 2021, 10:30 to 11:30, South Lakeview. Saturday, April 24th, 2021, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Alder Road. Saturday, April 24th, 2021, 10:30 to 11:30, Norton Reservoir Dam. Saturday, May 1st, 2021, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., Newland Street Water Department. Saturday, May 1st, 2021, 10:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m., Plain Street and Canoe River. Saturday, May 15th, 2021, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., Crane Street and 3 Mile. For more information, please contact Jen Corlino, the Director of Conservation at conservation@nortonmaus.com. Sorry, guys, if I tumbled on that a little bit. That was a lot.
If I may, because I don't have a copy of that, was one of those April 10th?
Two were.
Michael?
Yeah, Brad, you are correct. They were Saturday. Saturday.
I don't think it's allowed on I don't believe it's allowed on a date of town election.
Well,
yeah, I don't believe so.
I don't think
addressing this with Ms. Corlino.
I don't think you can hold a town meeting of a board or committee on election day, but I'm not sure it would preclude something like this. I'll check with council.
Okay.
Thank you, Brad. That's a great point. And Mike, if you would check with Ms. Corlino and see if if it would make sense if those dates are if those dates are flexible to change. While it may not be illegal, it's probably recommended.
Practical.
Yeah, practical. Thank you, Brad.
Mike, you said you're following up on that?
Yes.
Okay. I had another announcement that it wasn't on here, but did want to give a quick shout out. I don't know if you guys saw the article about the Norton Public Schools receiving the award that they're a national school board, I'm going to mess this up, a National School Board Association 2021 Magna Award winner. They're recognized for their commitment to equity as the first place winner in the 27th annual Magna Awards program. They're one of 15 winners, 3 grand prize, and 12 first place winners across the nation to receive this honor. There was an article I saw on that, and maybe if I can, I do have an email. Maybe I can send that to Jen and she can provide a summary too, but I think it's a great achievement. Specifically, in this area, they honor districts across the country for the programs that advance equity and break down barriers for underserved students. And we were selected as a winner by an independent panel of school board members, administrators, and other educators. So I think it's kudos to Norton Public Schools and the school committee and, obviously under Dr. Bayetta's leadership, but wanted to recognize that in announcements as well.
It was a great honor. It was one, like I said, Renee, one of 15, and we were one of only 2 schools, Mashpee being the other one, but it was a great honor, and the program was really, really impressive.
Yeah, especially through a pandemic, so
yeah.
Certainly a huge achievement. So congrats to them, and thank you as well. Okay, under new business, item number 2 is right of first refusal for land owned by Daggett Crandall Newcomb Home on Newcomb and Newland Streets, Norton, Mass. 02766. Portion of land described as the Town of Norton Assessor's Map. Is this supposed to say plot 5, lot 3? I think it's plot, not plat, right? Is it plat? Is it plat? Okay. Plot 5, lot 3. Mike, you want to talk to us about that?
Sure. This is land up at the intersection of Newcomb and Newland. It was in 61A land tax deferral, and they now have this under agreement for sale. And this had gone to other committees to see if they were interested in the land, and no one is, and conservation is not. They sent a letter back to you that's in your packet. And I would recommend that the board vote not to exercise their right of first refusal on this property.
Mike, what is this property zone?
Residential. Madam Chair, may I ask a question?
Ask as many as you like, Michael.
So Mike, we've talked about there's been a lot of discussion about trading conservation deeded lands for commercial use and so forth. This is one of those lots, if I'm not mistaken, that we've talked about possibly trading. An example would be on the 123 across from Quick Stop, trading this land, that conservation land for possibly this lot. Am I wrong about that?
Yeah, it would be the land they own on the other side of Newland Street, on the same side as their facility.
Okay, okay.
Right. That land.
That land. But so what are we voting on tonight to?
Not exercise your right of first refusal. They have a purchase and sale on the property, and if the town wanted the property, the town would have the right to purchase it.
Okay, do you know what the pricing on the lot is they're asking?
$185,000.
So Am I not mistaken that right now conservation holds the land on 123 that could be developed for commercial property?
No, that land is owned by the condo complex, but it's in chapter land. It's still owned by the condo complex.
What am I confusing? I know there was a piece of land on 123 that was conservation protected or so forth, that we would have to find a reasonable conservation land to trade kind of apples.
That's the land that's on the corner of East Main Street and Leonard Street. It's owned by the condo complex, but when they built the condo complex, they agreed to put that land under protection. And if they want to sell that land, they would have to get approval from conservation, and they would have to find land that conservation felt was suitable to replace that land and put it into protection. And they would have to get the state legislature to approve that.
So let me ask you this, in your opinion, is there too many moving parts to make this happen? Because obviously there's been a concern in town, a lack of commercial property that is developed, that could be developed into town. And we've actually on the EDC have talked about looking at pieces of land that are conservation deeded and locked that we can't do anything with. You know, this.
I wouldn't say there's too many moving parts. It's just that whoever is interested in that would have to hire the right engineers to find similar type land and come up with a proposal to the Conservation Commission.
And from my reading the letter from Conservation, to me, it sounds like this property would not meet the requirement to replace the conservation property that you're talking about.
Correct. This piece would not.
Well, if they don't think it would fit.
They don't think it's significant for conservation.
Mike, there's a map on here. I can't tell from what the letter says. Is it a portion of the existing property that they're looking to sell? Do you have that same map? Can you share it?
Okay.
Okay. I just want to understand what we're actually looking at.
So. Let me get to it. So the easiest one it would be to look at, it's this parcel right here. So this is Newcomb Street and this is Newland. So it's parcel 3, which is this parcel.
Where's 123?
See that skinny piece, Renee?
Skinny.
See that little skinny?
123 is right here.
Okay.
Oh, I was backwards, sorry.
And the land I was talking about, Mike, is over here.
Okay. And Mike, you know, I read the letter from Conservation Commission and I guess the question I have, and I just need clarification, is there charged, I mean, does the Conservation Commission look at the same thing that we're looking at as economic growth, like the EDC looks at for economic growth versus, you know, that fits that need and so on and so forth? I mean, I know that they mentioned the open space here. I just what I don't want to do is give up the first rights of refusal if we think that this can possibly help another commercial property land property Do you want what I'm saying? I mean, Conservation Commission's mission is quite different than the
When
EDC's.
conservation looks at it, they look at something that is wetland, or they look at something that abuts land that they already control. And water and sewer would look at it as land that abuts an area where they have a well. So neither one was interested in this.
Mike, I know there aren't zones on here. Is this entire area residential surrounding this piece?
It is, it's all residential. And I know they actually have, if you look at the letter from the attorney.
It looks like they have a developer, right?
Right, they've got Form A lots.
This is the map I didn't understand.
So this is.
Oh, that's street side.
Yep, this is up here is Newland Street. And so they'll have Form A lots along the street, and this estate lot would have access out here to Newcomb. And the cemetery is right across the street over here.
Yeah.
Which was other land that David Crandall had up for sale at one point, and the town did exercise the right of first refusal to purchase that land for the cemetery.
Yeah. I believe this is also a lot that we had a cultivator, not a cultivator, a recreational.
No, it was a different one.
Really, that wasn't okay.
How many acres is this?
This is.
If Mike actually showed where 123 is, Michael, I think it was a little further down.
Yeah, this was that hotel that he wanted to build, Renee.
Yeah, the farm.
The farm.
Farm to table.
Farm to table, marijuana farm to table.
Concept, yeah.
I'm not sure if they say the acreage.
Is there.
Does anybody know, square feet was in there, I thought it said like 86,000, but I had no idea what that was.
So that
86,000.
43,650 is an acre. So that would be 2 acres, close to 2 acres.
Maybe I read that wrong. That doesn't seem like that's big enough to put all those parcels there. I mean, Mike, I know where you're going with the, like on the development with the EDC, and while we can certainly send it back to them for review, I don't believe that this area, with it being all around residential, would be anything that the Economic Development Commission would consider.
No, I was saying is it looks like it's developable for lands for development of housing. I was looking at it as a kind of a land swap of moving a conservation deeded property in a commercial area, trading this land for that. Right, so something that's locked up on.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah.
So it sounds, as I read further, Renee, it sounds like they're only right now selling one of the lots.
Yeah, well, some of those lots are already developed, by the way, though, some of those on that map, because if you look on if you look at go along Newcomb Street, those houses have already been developed along there, right to the corner. So if you go
So it is a portion like that, the one part of the letter says, it's not the whole.
Yeah.
24-8, so.
Yeah, are you gonna get a number off of that?
I was hoping. This one's 27.
So Mike, your recommendation would be to let the rights of refusal probably go at this point. Don't think that there's any trading of conservation land.
No.
The land that we could maybe use for more development of commercial on 123.
No, I would recommend to let it go.
Okay.
This is one of those affirmative versus negative.
Right.
We would motion to recommend the right of first refusal. right? And then vote as,
Vote
Against?
against it, yeah. You'd recommend to exercising your right of first refusal and then vote against it.
Okay. And I can. Any other questions before I do that? Okay, the chair would entertain a motion to recommend exercising the right of first refusal for the land owned by Daggett Crandall Newcomb Home on Newcomb and Newland Streets, Norton, Mass. 02766, portion of land described as the town of Norton Assessor's Map, Plat 5, Lot 3.
So moved.
Seconded.
Thank you. We'll do a roll call vote. Brad?
Just to confirm, Renee, just tell people, just review what people are voting on, yea or yea or nay.
Yeah, are there any questions on that?
No.
Okay. Brad?
No.
Michael?
Nay.
Meg?
No.
I also vote no. So that's unanimous from the board. Okay. I don't even know how to say that. We've declined the right of first refusal.
Maybe you refused the right of first refusal.
I don't know. Every time it's getting late, and every time we get into this, affirmative versus negative, I get confused. Okay, the next item is vote to set the time of the annual town meeting. I think this is fairly simple because I believe we voted for the special town meeting to be at 1:15 p.m.
Right.
That's correct.
Okay, so the chair would entertain a motion to set the time of the annual town meeting to 1 p.m.
So moved.
Is there a second?
You have to say the date. Yes. Please say the date.
Oh, well, it just says set the time. On Saturday, May 8th, 2021. Did I get it right?
At 1 p.m.
Yep, I did say that part already. Okay, let me start again. The chair will entertain a motion to set the time of the annual town meeting at 1 p.m. on Saturday, May 8th, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, roll call, Meg?
Yes, I'm just curious why it's later in the day, not first thing, but I'll vote yes, whatever, it doesn't matter.
So we can have discussion. We talked about this when we were talking about the special town meeting, and just due to the season and the weather in the morning, it's quite chilly, so we moved it to the afternoon and on the hopes that it would be somewhat more pleasant for the residents to attend.
Okay, no, then yes.
Okay, Brad?
Yes.
Michael?
Aye.
And I also say yes. So the annual town meeting is set for 1 p.m. on May 8th.
Just for the record, Brad voted yes 6 times on that, I think.
He did what?
Yeah, I believe so.
What did he do?
He voted yes 6 times on that. We kept changing.
Okay.
I stuttered a little bit.
I'm just looking at this. Okay, so item number 4 is to review and or vote on annual and special town meeting articles and fiscal year 22 budget. So the budget items we are currently reviewing with FinCom, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so do you have specific articles outside of that we want to look at?
Let me go through it and then you can decide if there's anything you want to do tonight or if you just want to take it all. I think you just got the warrant, so.
Is this the entire warrant, Mike?
It is.
Okay. Is it okay if I email Jen to ask her to print out just the warrant for me? And I don't know if anybody else likes a hard copy.
Sure, no, we can do that. Yeah.
Okay.
So on the warrant, the first article that we always do is Article 2, and that is to have, to vote to authorize the select board to accept and enter into any contracts for the expenditure of any funds allotted under Chapter 90. Am I sharing, by the way?
You're not sharing anything.
No, you're not.
I'm sorry. I just realized
You're
that.
verbally sharing, but
Yeah, you're
it's fine.
I was
gonna
gonna
say
say,
emotionally, but it didn't sound right.
yeah, I mean, the warrant or something else.
All
Yeah.
right. So it's the standard chapter 90 articles, so it authorizes the select board to accept and expend any funds that come in under the chapter 90 program.
And we don't typically put an
No, we
amount
don't.
on there?
No, we don't know yet.
Okay, so is Article 2 going to change?
No. It's just standard, whatever the state sends us, we'll accept it and we'll spend it.
Okay. They don't give us any indication of what we're going to get?
Not yet.
Okay.
We may have it before the town meeting, so if anyone asks, we can tell them, but we don't know yet.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Anyone not comfortable voting on this now that we've seen the language?
Madam Chair, is there, Mike, do you want to just kind of do that, to just identify the articles that there are not going to be, what other articles are like this one where there's not going to be a dollar amount, so the wording's not going to change? I think it's like, as I'm looking through, it's 2-6.
Well, you got chapter 90. The next one, tree services, is $25,000. Then you have the water and sewer enterprise budget. The operating budget we wouldn't do yet.
Okay.
What's number 7? I know you mentioned this last week.
Yep. Let me go to it.
Because I had a note that we wanted to see the language for the capital improvements appropriation.
7 is to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds a sum of money for the capital improvements fund. And so in the motion, it would have the amount, and I was recommending that we appropriate $600,000 into capital from free cash.
And didn't we approve that at the finance committee? We did that one already.
You approved the capital plan. You didn't approve putting money into the capital fund yet.
Oh, okay. All right. We reviewed the plan, but not the transfer.
Right.
So Mike, sorry, Brad.
I was just gonna say, we voted to spend money, but not to put it in the, it's to spend.
We're gonna make it difficult.
You found that funny, Brad. I can tell you.
I actually did too.
He had his own little laugh on that.
Mike, at what point does the sum of money, and I'm using air quotes, sum of money change into 600,000?
That would be in the motion at the town meeting. If you and the finance committee agree to 600,000, that's what we would put in the motion.
So we don't list it in the article for people to understand that?
No.
Can we list it in the article for people to understand that?
We could, as soon as you vote, the finance committee votes on that too.
Isn't it?
It's usually an
attachment. It's usually an attachment, isn't it?
Well,
I know,
the amount when on the score sheets,
right?
It's usually on that.
We usually see that sheet that we saw the other night in finance committee, where the cash is coming from, right?
Let me show. I think.
No, I think we see that like it always confused me going to town meeting, and you have the list.
Like this sheet, it shows the action. So here's the capital plan that was voted, and it shows the amounts. And so if you voted to put 600,000 in the capital improvements, it would say under action, 600,000 right here, it would be put in. So selectmen voted on such and such a date, 600,000. Finance committee voted on such and such a date, 600,000.
And Mike, if we have the opportunity to put it into the article language, I think that would just help people reading this to understand. Because, like I said, I was always confused, and then I'd have to go back to see, like, I'd have to look at one, and then, you know, there's that other sheet that exists that actually has, like, the motions that'll be moved, which, I mean, I would ask if there's no legal issue with doing that, that we do it just for simplicity for others who are looking at it to be more transparent.
Right. So
Okay.
why don't I go, what, would it be easier if I just go down this list here? And then if there's an article that you want to look at more, we'll go down to that. And-
Well, I think we were on number 2, and I think we were all to the point where we were okay to vote. So should we
Yeah, okay,
go back up and see what we can knock out?
sure. So Article 2, that is the Chapter 90 article.
Yeah, so the chair will entertain a motion to approve.
What, Article 2?
Thank you. Support Article 2, the Chapter 90 Transportation Aid Program.
So moved.
Seconded.
Any further discussion? Okay, Meg? Meg, you're on mute. Oh, sorry.
Yes, but no, the dogs were barking, so I put myself on
It's
mute.
okay. Brad?
Yes.
Michael?
Aye.
I too vote yes. That's unanimous in support. Okay, Mike, you had Article 3, tree services.
Article 3 is an article that Keith puts in every year for $25,000. This is to bring in a tree service to handle some of the larger trees that our guys can't handle.
And this was on one of the line items within the operating budget, wasn't it? Or is this, how is this a separate article?
It's always a separate article. We don't put it in his budget.
Okay. So we have tree services under capital. And then this separate thing?
In capital, it was a payment on a truck that they have to handle trees.
Okay.
This is for a larger crane.
Okay. Any discussion? Go ahead, Brad.
I was just gonna say, I think this originated when we actually had a tree warden in a tree department. That's why it was separate.
Okay. Other discussion? Does anyone not feel comfortable voting on it tonight?
I'm assuming this fund gets used, 100% of it gets used every year, correct, for trees?
It does. It's mainly, our guys are not allowed to cut trees that are within a certain distance of electric wires. So this would bring in a crane service from a company that can do that and clear trees on the side of the road where to get them away from any wires.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. Chair will entertain a motion to support Article 3, tree services, in the amount of $25,000.
So moved.
Seconded.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, Meg? Try again.
Yes.
Thank you. Brad?
Yes.
Michael?
Aye.
And I too vote yes. Okay. I don't know how you guys feel, but I think maybe 4 and 5, we do those as part of the, our joint meetings with FinCom. That's the water and the sewer enterprise budgets.
Yep, and you were sent, by the way, a revised water and budget today, so it's in
I did see that.
it's in a separate email.
Okay. Is that on for the agenda Monday, Mike?
I think it is, yes.
So 4, 5, and 6, you want to punt to, or you want to move into wait until we have that joint meeting, correct?
Yep.
Okay, and actually 7, capital improvement appropriations.
No, I think, I mean, I'm comfortable with this. We made a note that we wanted to see the warrant, so I'm fine if we vote on it if you guys want to wait until the joint meeting, we can wait, but
I'm fine with it tonight.
okay. Meg, any opposition to tonight?
That would be fine.
Okay. So the chair will entertain a motion to support Article 7, capital improvements appropriation for $600,000 from free cash into capital improvements.
So moved.
Seconded.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
This is Article 7?
I hope, did I read the right one?
Yes, you did.
Well, but there's no reference to the 600,000.
Yeah, good point.
That's what we were just talking about, that I had asked Mike if we could add the amount into the article language.
Right, I thought we couldn't for this one because it's already been set, but if we can, that'd be fine.
Yeah, this is, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is still in draft form, Meg, and until we, I don't know the language, until it's sent and posted, right? Until it's posted, we can have edits. Is that right, Mike?
Yes.
And it's, is this the 14-day or is this the 7-day prior to the meeting that it must be posted?
This
It's 7.
This is the 7. This is the annual.
Okay.
And I'll always double check with Lauren Goldberg too on that.
Okay, sorry, so yes.
Okay, were we at roll call?
Yes.
Okay. Brad?
Yes.
Michael?
Aye.
I too vote yes.
And
That's unanimous, thank you.
8 you already did. You already voted that. The Article 9, we still need more information on to see what borrowings there are that can be rescinded.
Okay.
So this is any borrowings that there's money that was authorized that what we ended up borrowing was not that much.
Okay, so we'll come back to that one. The next one is reserved for the land acquisition, Pine Street and Crane Street.
Right, and they're still working on an appraisal on that property. Jennifer's working with the water and sewer on that because they're also trying to get a grant, so they have to have a certain type of appraiser work on that in order to get the proper grant. So we'll get back to you on that.
Okay.
And this is, this abuts, they're well up there.
Okay. And Article 11, Household Hazardous Waste Day.
Right, I need to get a figure from Chris on that.
Okay.
And the same with this one, for the Water Pollution Abatement Trust Program, so I'll get those from him.
Okay.
And this is just draft. We're not doing that yet. This is the home rule petition on whatever, on liquor licenses.
Okay.
And Article.
Mike, if I can just provide a brief update, because I don't think, just again via email, just to the board, Mike has been in contact with town council about just further information in respect to the liquor licenses based on some of the conversation that we had in the past, so to understand if we have the ability to put specific conditions around that. So that's why we're kind of in a holding pattern for that until we get more information back from town council, and then we'll bring it back on the agenda.
All right, Article 14, I also have to get you a figure, the balance that remains. This is the money that was appropriated to tear down the portion of the Reed and Barton building that was falling onto Cross Street. And what this article would be authorize the use of that money for any other emergency work that needs to be done up there, to close in the building. It's not obviously going to be enough to tear down the other building. It would just be enough for any small asbestos removal or closing in the building, but I'll get you a figure on that.
Okay, and that was, we initially approved at town meeting $400,000 for that project?
I think it was somewhere in that area. I don't remember, to be honest, exact amount.
Okay.
So Mike, was this, what, is this larger than this, what the scope was? I mean, I thought it was $500,000 to do that first building tear down. This is.
Yeah, because it was designated, it was very specific to tear down that portion of the building along Elm Cross Street.
And is this part of that scope?
This would be expanding it to use it for other work on the property for the remaining portion of the building, to secure it, or if there was any asbestos on the site that we could remove.
So specifically, Mike, the remaining funds, correct?
Correct, yep.
To essentially reallocate how those funds would be able to be spent.
Yep.
Okay, and it's being offered by the building commissioner. So there isn't a committee working on this or getting feedback, public feedback yet on any of that stuff prior to the meeting, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Article 15 is still something that we're working on. I think we talked about it a little bit before. We're working with Condyne and Waste Management. Condyne and Waste Management wants to expand, and so they want to expand onto the property where the animal shelter and 9 Lives are. And in order to do that, they would pay for construction of 2 new buildings at the entrance to Commerce Way. So that's something we're still working with them on to get that ironed out. And hopefully soon we can come back to you with something on that.
And Mike, is there a reason why Commerce Way was selected?
Well, there was a piece of land available there. And it's not near any homes. You know, if you have a lot of barking dogs and things like that, we just thought it would be an area that would be away from homes. There is other land available, but then it's close to the highway, and so we weren't sure how that would affect the animals at the shelter, you know, the cars going by on the highway. So that's really why they were looking at it.
So it's not adjacent to the highway is what you're saying?
Right, it's on the other side of South Washington.
But this is still in like an industrial zone area?
It's right at the entrance.
Is it, where they are now, is that also industrial or is that commercial?
It's industrial.
Industrial. That's such a nice area for growth. Okay. You'll provide all that?
Yes.
To us later?
Article 16, we need more information on this. This is the train, to move forward with train.
Train, the school train, TRANE?
TRANE, not.
Okay.
So we signed that contract, but it wasn't approved at town meeting, Mike?
Well, this would be to move forward after they've done their audits, to move forward with.
Contract was for audits. This is for the work to be done for the audits.
Yep.
Okay. By the way, is anyone else sick of hearing about trains? Like that was has been beaten.
And this article is also a placeholder. So right now, if the field project moves forward, as part of that, they need to connect to the sewer, because right now, the sewer runs underneath the fields going to the pump station that's on the school property. So this would connect the sewer line directly to the street before they start construction of the fields. And if that would be done under the field project, but if that isn't approved, then this would go to this article, because to connect the school to the town sewer system.
So, okay. Well, I guess we're going to hear, we move, this one is going to come at, this is like the backup plan. This is going to come after
the
annual
special
town meeting. Or, yeah, special town meeting.
Yep, yep.
Okay. Do we already have this listed that it's the 517,000? Is this something we should vote tonight or wait till later when we review? I would actually probably think we do it later when we review the entire project again.
Right, I would, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And we'll make sure that number's confirmed again.
So that number disappears if the field project is approved.
Right.
That disappears.
Yes. And this next article, you need Jennifer Carlino to talk to you about. This is some amendments to the stormwater management bylaw. And I would not dare talk on this without Jennifer here to do that. So we'll have Jennifer at a future meeting to address this with you.
So let me ask you this, Mike. Has the Conservation Commission, we've seen these types of bylaw changes or these town meeting articles die a slow death at town meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Has she worked, or has the Conservation Commission worked on overview explaining why they're doing this, right? Because we always say, well, where's the overview sheet of this type of change here? Yeah. I don't know if she's worked on that or she will have that ready for you.
We'll have that. The Stormwater Management Committee has all met quite a few times on this. And it's just amending the bylaw that we already have. And so we'll have a list of all the changes to make.
Besides that, if you can just give a rationale, right? I mean, what I don't want to see is us going to town meeting with this, if they, what they want, and someone up there to try to explain this and read this at town.
Right. Yep.
That's just going to give it a slow death.
Okay.
I mean, tell me if the other board members think I'm wrong about that, but I don't see that being.
Isn't this one, the bylaw amendment, shouldn't that be approved by planning too, or is it something different because it's stormwater management?
It's a town bylaw, not a planning or zoning bylaw, I believe, so.
Okay. So they don't care?
They care, that's not in their preview.
Right.
All right, did I miss?
You missed the beginning.
Article 19, we're on Article 19.
Article 19.
Man, I totally wasn't prepared for this, but.
Do you want to go over it?
Yeah,
Give a quick, go ahead.
Yeah, it's pretty quick. You'll just have to move down for me. So, Article 19, I think we talked about this in the past. So the marijuana bylaw that we approved last year, because initially we were looking at an early spring meeting for it. It was moved because of the pandemic to later in the year. Once the bylaw was approved, there were a couple things that happened. One is additional regulation through the Cannabis Control Commission for delivery licenses and delivery courier licenses, which allows retailers and or what I'll just call individual applicants to have a delivery service. So they essentially have the product. They may or may not package it within their warehouse, according to the language from the CCC, and then they would deliver that to whomever purchased it, typically within the state. So a couple of changes here that account for that. Under definitions overall, the suggestion was to delete our current marijuana establishment definition in its entirety and replace it with a new one. And Mike, if you could just scroll down to see it, you'll see there under Article 2 definitions, the first one has a strike through. And then we added some language. It's a type of licensed marijuana-related businesses defined in the MGL Chapter 94G, Section 1, and the CCC regulations. And then it's essentially a copy and paste from the CCC here. So it updates that to account for the new types of establishments. And then additionally, within our bylaw that was new last year, Also adding those definitions in, just so we had the reference within the bylaw to assist in, the planning board and others in understanding what these different terminology or terms meant. So it's delivery license. I think there are 3 or 4 in here. Like if you can scroll down. Delivery licensee, the courier, and then delivery operator, marijuana delivery operator or delivery operator. Oh, and the micro business. I think there might be one more underneath. I could be wrong. Warehouse. I think that's it. And then finally, the last change, Mike, if you'll continue to scroll down. So we had a bit of an oversight in the way that the bylaw was written, where the way it was written previously, it said that the applicant had to have a final license before applying for a building permit. And you can't get a final license until the CCC comes in to actually look at what you've built. So we created something that could never happen. So we just had to do an administrative update here. So we changed this a bit. We added in under use, what's in bold there, no marijuana establishment or MPC may apply for a building permit prior to its receipt of special permit and site plan approval. So we put those in the correct order. And then we removed applying for a building permit prior to its final receipt and just kept it that they can't commence operation without its final license from the CCC. And then it just changed the next bullet number. So that was an oversight on our part, and it's just a correction. And then finally, we had this last article. It's an old one, a temporary moratorium on recreational marijuana establishments was put in place, you'll see the reference there, 2016. And I think it actually says it expires in 2018, but this is just a housekeeping item to clean up the bylaws and remove that.
That was pretty impressive, Rand. I'm not gonna lie, you've kind of gotten that as pretty.
I gotta tell you, I did better at this than I did at the planning board, but the planning board was like, I think it may have been like 10 to 10, not 9:20.
Yeah, fair enough.
So those are the updates there. The planning board, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they supported it unanimously.
I don't know that. I have not heard that, but I trust you.
Yeah, I don't believe there were any no's in that. They did support it though. If I'm wrong in the unanimous, I apologize. Do we want to vote on Article 19?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so the chair will entertain a motion to support Article 19, the zoning bylaw amendment as shown and reviewed here in respect to marijuana establishments.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Meg. And we'll do roll call vote. Meg?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
Michael?
Aye.
And I too vote yes. Okay, can knock another one down?
Article 20, this article is to rezone some residential land to industrial land. And this is the land in between, on East Main Street, in between Dunkin' Donuts and 495. It's state land, and they're looking to auction it off. And I know that the planning board is actually having a hearing Tuesday night on this. And just to give you some background, I know from what I'm hearing from Paul is that there has been some thought of some people that want it to be commercial rather than industrial. And my personal concern is if it's not industrial, if a pharmaceutical company wants to build on that property, we can't do it. Under commercial, it can be the high bay warehouses all day. I mean, you could have a high bay warehouse in there, but if it's not industrial, you can't have manufacturing. So you wouldn't be able to have a pharmaceutical company move in there. And that's always our goal. We're trying to attract them. So the property, we also own a piece of property to the east of this. So our property is Article 97 property for our passive recreation. So there's a buffer between this, on one side of this industrial land would be the highway. On the other side would be our piece of passive recreation land. And then you have all on the east side of it, the plaza that's already there, the Richard zone.
Which is commercial.
Yeah, so I am going to attend the planning board meeting on Tuesday, just to express my support for this. And I know the state really would like it to be zoned this way, and so they can market it.
Yeah.
This was actually, this was part of the public hearing that I attended on behalf of the EDC to present the previous article. They had quite a long discussion. I mean, I came in, I want to say somewhere around 2 hours into the meeting, and they were still talking about it and just wrapping up, and they extended it to Mike's point, to a second public hearing. I would almost like to hear, from my perspective, I'd like to hear what the planning board decides and what they come back with before we take a vote, but I leave that up to you guys to, if you agree with that.
I don't have a say, but I would recommend that you get their recommendation.
Madam Chair, I think to your point, we have to wait. We have to wait until the planning board. But to Mike's point, I mean, the Department of Transportation's been dragging their feet on selling this piece of property, and I think the premise of getting them to the table to sell this has been a lot of work, that it would be industrial, which covers not, and when you classify something industrial, it covers commercial. I think that was part of the hope of selling this to the state, for them to sell the land, and I would hate to see that thrown off by any means by the kind of us saying, no, it's only commercial, when the state has intentions of trying to promote kind of a catch-all in industrial. While they can't dictate that, obviously, the planning board has to decide that. I think it would be a crucial mistake, but I think to your point, we have to wait until we see what the planning board decides. And I will also be at the Tuesday meeting stressing this point, and I would encourage any residents. I think this is a very, very important article that needs to be going to town meeting. So.
Okay, Mike, lucky 21.
Okay. This is, once again, this is still being reviewed by the planning board. And I know that the planning director has been working also with town council on this. This is the piece of land that Drain family owns, the small piece out in front of Red Mill Village. And that, my suggestion would be to wait until you have a recommendation from the planning board, but that's.
And this is the one we reviewed with FinCom as well, right?
Right.
Okay, and I think there were some actions that we were going to do from a town perspective.
Right, and those are still being worked on.
Okay. I have no objections to that suggestion if others are okay with that too.
No, there has been a petition, a citizen's petition regarding that article too. So I think there's a lot more debate that needs to be had from to the planning board.
Okay. Okay, my lucky 22.
22 and 23 are standard articles, placeholders for now, and we usually don't fund these until the fall. But Article 22 would be to put funds into our OPEB account, and Article 23 would be to put funds into the stabilization account.
Have you identified what those sums would be?
Usually we don't fund them in May, we wait till October, so we'll probably do the same this year.
So why would do you need them on this meeting, or do you put them on October? Would these be punted to October?
We usually leave them here and move no action.
Okay.
And then in October we would fund them.
Like, why does, just my own curiosity, why is one put forth by the town manager, one by the select board?
That is a good question.
That's how it was done. That's how it was done, Renee. Stop asking questions.
Must just be the way that it was always done.
Ah,
I think because the select board never wanted to put money away for post-employment benefits. And it was
Oh, come on.
No, it was something the town manager first, I can't remember how many years ago, first came up with. It had to do with, the
Actuary.
ratings, the ratings of the town, and the rating companies were looking for this, and the town manager was aware of it and brought it forth.
Brad, you sure you don't want to hang around? Be kind of like the historian and.
He'll be attending every meeting, so you can just ask him the questions.
Right.
Something tells me we won't see Brad for a while.
Okay, so special, yeah, special town meeting, this got very long, it seems.
Well, yeah, we moved stuff. So, standard articles that we always have, prior year bills. So if anyone finds a bill all of a sudden that was from last year, it would have to be funded through this article. Any separation expenses we have, we will get that together. We don't have that right yet. Any collective bargaining agreements that end up being settled between now and town meeting. Any operating budget supplements, and then any water or sewer enterprise supplements. That would be 5 for water and 6 for sewer. 7, I don't see anything happening there. That would just be if we had some capital issue come up that we needed to fund in this year. This year, it had to be done before June 30th. So that would be one article to put money into the capital fund, and the next one will be to expend it for that purpose. The next one you've already voted to approve, Article 9, the TIF with Home Depot. Then 10 is the Norton Senior Community Support Center, new town hall, and new athletic complex at Norton High School and the Henry A. Yellow Elementary School. 11 is a placeholder in case we ever find out who that person was that called up and left a message and left the wrong phone number. They had land that they were interested to sell.
I have a different copy than you do.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay. I'm just documenting your number. What did we drop? Oh, I think you just moved. Did you move just 10 and 11? No.
I wanted, probably move 10 up. And then 12 is augmentation. Right now, there was $81,000 appropriated for the architect for the work that they've been doing recently, and they've gone slightly over that. I know that the building committee was working on a number for me, so this would be to put some more money into that account.
Is this money we've already spent?
We haven't spent it yet because we only had the $81,000. So they figure they're going to need the architect to present at town meeting and any other meetings before then. So this would be to supplement that.
Okay.
Have they given you any idea yet, Mike, what that expense is going to look like?
They're working on that. I expect to have it tomorrow.
Okay.
13 is reserved in case we have an appraiser looking at the rail trail easement acquisitions. What this is so the rail trail project, Mansfield took that rail line, they bought it actually, the old rail line, in bankruptcy court back in the late 70s or early 80s. And the attorneys were concerned that sometimes the railroad took parcels, sometimes the railroad just took rights over parcels. So although Mansfield is the legal owner of the MFN now of that entire right of way, there was some concern that there's 66 parcels that the attorneys believe weren't taken properly. So they have to do confirmatory deeds on those and confirmatory takings. And so we have an appraisal looking at if anyone was not willing to we're hoping people will just donate their land because they haven't been taxed on it. They're not using it. And if they don't, they're obviously not going to get much money because there's nothing to compensate them for. There's no trees, no shrubs. There's a sewer line down there, so there's no value to anybody. So if we're waiting for the appraiser to let us know if we need more than that money I told you. We have 125,000 right now.
Mike, when are we expected, when are they expected to be done? Because I feel like this is the longest running project ever.
2025, right?
It's hopefully going to be on the tip in 2022 or 3. So I don't know how long it'll take to construct.
No, that's to build, but I mean, what do we need to finish to make, to go to the next step?
The engineer's drawings, I believe, are at the 80%. And then we just need to have the attorneys get all these titles straightened out.
And what ETA for that?
I'm not sure. I'll have to check with them.
Okay.
But to run it, it was like 23 was the tip, and then 25 was the target finish date, I think.
Okay.
So is Sandy still on?
She is. I'm going to be impressed.
I'm still here.
Yes, she is.
You just impressed Michael. Did you hear Mike's update on this, on the road trail?
Yeah, that's helpful, yeah.
Okay. Is there anything that you've heard from a SERPED perspective? I think it's SERPED that we need to be concerned with, or anything they're expecting from the town that they haven't received?
No, I think SERPED's kind of out of it at this point. They started it off. It's really just the engineer and
mascot.
Yeah, and just getting the all these assessments and appraising the different properties seems to be what's the engineer is waiting for right now.
Okay, and so the appraisals happen, Mike, before, the appraisals happen, and they talk about the donation of those? Is that process?
Well, that's what I'm waiting for Sharon to let us know. I would hope that if we can go out and get donations at first, then we don't have to appraise any of those properties that donate.
Okay. Will we know this by the town meeting?
Yes.
And how many parcels will you get, Michael? Did you say 60?
66.
Will we know this 2 weeks before the town meeting?
I would hope so.
Okay.
And no communications happen with these 66 parcels yet about donations?
No.
Who does that? Mike, is that us or is that somebody else?
We would do it.
When you say we, is that Denise or Catherine? I'm just wondering curious.
What, to notify the abutters, the owners for donations?
Yeah.
I would send them out from the town hall, so I'd work on.
Okay.
I
So
know,
it's like a mass mailing type?
Yes. So on 123, on that project, I know Highway handled all that. So we'd work in combination.
Okay. Excellent, thank you.
So 14, this article is, would ask town meeting to give the select board the authorization to dispose of a piece of land. So this is the small piece of land that is at the entrance to that state property. And it has title issues. We have it in our name, but no one can figure out how it got in our name. So if the state, if the property's rezoned and the state can auction it off, this would give the selectmen the authority to sell that property to whoever is going to buy that land, so that they would have a roadway going in. It's the 40-foot wide entrance. It's about, it's small. It's only about 9,000 square feet or something like that total. It says on it school lot, but no one knows how it ever got into the town. So the best way would be to sell it to whoever buys the property and say, you're getting it, no title. You straighten the title out. We're not spending money on that.
But that's the town-owned land?
Yes, it's a small piece right at the entrance to that property.
So would that be auctioned?
It would be, yes.
Okay. Okay, are we gonna look at that later, like diagram-wise and then language?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And this last article is a request from Keith. He's been inundated lately with trash that people are just dumping. And by trash, I mean TVs, mattresses that he's picking up on the side of the road. And his recycling account won't even cover it. He's so far behind right now that he needs, it'll either be a reserve fund transfer at the end of the year or this article, but he's gonna need some funds. It's too bad, but I mean, we have people, you can come up and pay a small amount of money and leave them at the highway garage, but people just want to dump them.
Does that have to happen at the hazardous waste day, or can that happen at any time?
Anytime. They have up on the right side of the highway garage, they have containers for TVs, or they have containers for computers and other items. The metal they'll take for free.
Like, where is that publicized? I've actually been looking for stuff and I can't figure out.
It is on the public, if you go onto the town website, go to highway department, and it should be there. I'll look tomorrow.
I think it's every other Saturday. I know that they'll take like waste oil.
Yeah.
Just like they burn that to heat the garage. They take an awful lot of stuff down.
They actually use old oil?
Yeah, they have that's what the garages do. They have a special furnace that burns old oil to heat buildings.
Yeah.
Interesting.
They don't take gasoline, but they take oil.
Mike, is there a way, to Meg's point, like, can we do a little marketing, maybe put it up on as an alert, maybe on the town hall display, and then
Sign out front, yeah.
Maybe push something out too as a reminder to people? Because I imagine a lot of people are probably in this position because a lot of people have been cleaning out during COVID, right?
I love it because I keep trying to get my town to do something like it and they don't. So we have like bulky item pickup day twice a year. So you keep stuff piled up on the side of your house until.
Who did, a couple of years ago, there was and I know it stopped because of COVID, but the cleanup day, Norton cleanup day, who's responsible for that? And organized this year or not?
No, because of COVID again. It was always a combination between Wheaton College and us. So we'd always get a committee together, Keith Silver, and it was Bob Kimball at the time, myself, and a couple people from Wheaton, and would organize it and then get volunteers, and we'd usually have the kickoff at Wheaton. They'd have a coffee and donuts or whatever for people, and then people would head out to certain areas.
Do you know if is there any consideration of pushing it? Usually we do it in the spring, but is there any consideration of doing it in fall?
I haven't thought about it at all, but that's a possibility, yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully things are all better then.
Right. Can we just put that on our kind of tickle list and maybe kind of visit it towards as we get a little bit closer into through the summer?
I think the only thing, Michael, the benefit of doing it in the spring, and I can tell you from being out there, is you can see the trash because the trees and shrubs haven't grown, so you can kind of get in there and actually clean, right?
Yeah, you're right. You're good point.
I didn't think of that, yeah.
I mean, it was wet and cold last time that they had it, and Bog Iron did the lunch afterwards, which was nice. Yeah. But it is a great thing to do. I mean, there's a ton of trash, and I was just reading somewhere about trash somewhere else too.
I mean, as you walk along, I think it's starting to build up a little bit, right? I think I think in certain areas, and I know along Newcomb and Newlands, that cleanup was a big deal, because now when you walk along there, you're actually seeing it go kind of overflow from the woods into the streets.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if there's a way we can still do it, and I don't know, we should think about that. Maybe not like we've done it in the past, but maybe, where people sign up to do like in front of their house and like their neighbor's 2 houses or something, where we keep, well, not really. I mean, I'm not going to be out there with my phone watching me pick up trash, but I mean, we see it like when I have the dogs, I'm always like, oh, I wish I brought like a trash bag, but I never do. But it's, I don't know. We should think about it.
When I say virtual, Renee, it was more
no, I know.
To your point of the same thing. You kind of you're having kind of the virtual meeting, go outside your yard, pick it up, leave the trash bags out front like they in certain areas. And then obviously Keith's group, I would imagine Keith's the group is the one that goes around and picks up the trash bags.
Right. I was just being funny, Michael. I was thinking about little, Go cameras there. You can watch, do little clips of people, count the nips, see how many tires you can find. Yeah. Anyway, it's a late night.
It would take a long time to count those nips.
Yeah.
Things should be added to the blue law.
Is that it? Michael?
Since in nips, those things disappear.
That's it, right? That was all I had on mine.
Yep.
Oh, we still have an agenda. That's right.
Yeah, it's another page and a half, so I can tell you, I'm pretty sure we're not going to get through it all, but let's see what we can do. So the next item is discussion and or vote to apply $75,879 in elementary and secondary school emergency relief to reduce the town's fiscal year 22 assessment from Southeastern Regional School District. And Mike, if you want to remind us about this presentation and why we would not, reasons why we wouldn't accept this.
I don't know why we wouldn't. This was discussed with Southeastern Regional. So our assessment from Southeastern Regional for FY22 was $1,579,070. And then when they gave their presentation, they showed that by using these funds, the ESSER 2 funds, we could reduce our assessment by the 58,625 or whatever it was. And they said the 75,879. I don't know why we wouldn't do it. So If we don't, they're just gonna use this funds to reduce other costs at Southeastern Regional.
So they're basically taking this money and reducing our annual assessment for the fiscal year 22.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah. I'd like to make a motion to accept the, to apply the $75,879 in elementary and secondary school emergency relief fund assessment. Anything else you need to add there?
Just move to the from Southeastern Regional School District.
From Southeastern Regional School District.
The motions, there's second. Thank you, Brad. Any further discussion? Okay, Meg?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
Michael?
Aye.
I too vote yes. So unanimously, we will apply the $75,879 into the ESSER to reduce our fiscal year 22 assessment. Okay, next item is vote to declare the following as abandoned property in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 135, Section 7, and be disposed via auction. The first item, Mike, we can vote on these all at once, yes?
Yes.
Okay. First item, so how about I do that? Well, first item is one silver red Gary Fisher mountain bike, one red Velo Sport 50 Pyrenees mountain bike, one green LL Bean mountain bike, one collapsible wheelchair. Any questions?
So,
yeah.
Moved.
Brad, did you say so moved?
Yes, please.
Okay, so motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Trying to find it on my thing, because.
For discussion, is the collapsible wheelchair donatable, or is it still have to follow this process?
I wouldn't want to take a chance on that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not.
Yes, that's fine.
You don't want the liability.
The free wheelchair cost us $100,000.
We had a free electric wheelchair in the basement of the town hall for I don't know how long, but we couldn't unload that on anybody.
Oh.
Meg, I have it on page 77, and then the pictures are on page 78.
Oh my goodness, okay. Can't even tell what page I'm on, yeah.
Oh, I just have to look up at the top. Because in the thing it's at, I don't know what this next thing is.
I found it, okay, sorry. Yeah. Okay, I got it.
That's a sharp looking LL Bean bike.
Well, they're going to be auctioning it, Michael.
I know, you can go to the auction.
Which one's the LL Bean?
What do you say?
Oh, is it the last one is the green? I can't tell.
The second to last one, yeah. No, third last, yeah. It's one by itself.
Okay, so there's a second and a motion. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Meg?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
Michael?
Aye.
And I too vote yes. Okay, thank you. Next one is vote to declare the police department's 48-inch truck vault, serial number 412480, as surplus. And if somebody didn't tell me what that picture was initially, I would have no idea.
Truck vault. Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, Meg?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
Michael?
Aye.
I too vote yes.
I think they should lock it and have a surprise to see who can open it.
Now, the next one is the referral of town meeting articles, but I'm seeing a picture of the Easter Bunny article in my packet. Is everybody else seeing that? Did we?
Yes, we're all sick. That was just April Fool's, Renee.
Oh, okay. Oh, Michael has it in his hand. Should that have been under announcements?
No, Renee, it was, I don't know what it is. No, it wasn't really an announcement.
Okay, well, we can talk about it in reports and mail then. Okay, the last item in this section on our agenda is a referral of town meeting zoning articles to the planning board for its non-binding recommendations. Do we do that right now? Since we haven't voted?
That's just, yeah, you take these articles and you refer them to the planning board for their study, and then they refer them back to you with their opinion, and then you can vote. That's the process.
Even though they've already had public hearings and voted on this?
Yes.
Okay, so, I have it as, it would be Article 19, on the annual town meeting, Article 19, Articles 20, and Article 21.
Yep.
Anything on this special?
On the special, there is not.
The mascot one? Not them?
That's a sale.
Okay. Okay, so the chair will entertain a motion to refer from the spring annual town meeting articles 19, 20, and 21 to the planning board for its non-binding recommendations.
So moved.
Seconded.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, Meg?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
Michael?
Aye.
And I too vote yes.
Wow.
Okay, next item under old business, update on marijuana establishments. I think the only update, and I'm getting my dates confused, so I apologize. The EDC had heard from an interested party for a cultivation, manufacturing, and delivery operator with potential opportunities on Hill Street. There were several questions and follow-ups that were needed, so those were going back to the applicant, and the applicant was going to get some additional information to be considered later for the EDC. I think that may be the only update. I can't remember. Did we talk about last meeting? Solar Retail Norton received their provisional license from the CCC.
So,
I'm like you, I get confused. Was this an EDC meeting? Was it a?
Yeah.
And they did have a meeting today with all the department heads to go over their plans for their building, so they are moving forward.
Oh, good. Anything of interest come up from that meeting that we should be concerned, or they should be concerned with?
I couldn't attend, so I don't know, but I'll get back to you on that. I'll find out from everybody tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you, Mike.
When do you think we'll know a date of tentative target openings? Like probably a honest date.
For marijuana facilities?
Yes.
For the ones that we have, the two we have HGAs for?
HGAs for, yeah.
I think it's going to depend on the permits.
Okay.
Right, so I guess we'll have to see when they apply for their, I mean, it sounds like they're, at least the one is moving forward, and then they need to apply for the site plan approval and special permit, and then go in front of the planning board. And I think if I remember correctly, there's another public hearing that has to happen that the planning board is required to hold based on the property location and use type. And we just, somebody remind me, I think it's only been a week and a half that we signed the updated the amendment to the HCA for Exit Tenant LLC, so they'll now need to take that to file with the CCC. I don't have any other updates, Mike. I don't know if you have anything.
I don't.
Okay. If there are any questions or anything we can follow up on, just let us know. Okay, Mike. Town managers report.
Well, if I can share my screen, I thought I'd report about what can be recycled at the highway department, so.
Oh,
Wow, geez, that was so proactive.
that was.
So just to, what we were just talking about, here's the items that, they'll take the second and fourth Saturday of each month from 8:30 to 11. They'll put in, also the highway department will provide curbside pickup on large items listed below on Mondays, and it's a $5 additional charge for pickup. So these are some of the items that are hard to get rid of that they will take.
Will they take things like, I mean, is it specifically limited to this list, or will they take things like maybe an old sink?
Let's see.
I don't know if that would fall.
Renee got specific there, like an
I
old.
know, is that a personal question?
Yeah. Well, one was broken, one was not. One I put out and somebody took it from my driveway, but I couldn't put the broken one out.
So it's ceramic, it's not metal.
Oh, metal stink, all you gotta do is call metal recycle to pick that up.
So is that a no? We don't have anything for an other category?
I don't know, I'd have to ask.
I'm pretty sure that's a no.
Okay. You said TVs were part of this, Mike? Oh, there it is under computer monitors and TVs.
Yeah. I mean, it's not, think about it, it's not that bad if you want to get rid of something and you don't want it hanging around your yard.
Right. It's amazing to me, large appliance is $5, but a computer monitor is 20 or 40.
Mm-hmm.
It's harder to recycle those, and it costs a lot more to recycle those. Where large metal items are usually making money on them.
I mean, tires.
Now the yard waste, Mike,
Mm-hmm.
West Hodges Street landfill,
Yeah.
are there other areas too? They have,
No, just the West Hodges for the yard waste.
what's in their parking lot? I thought they had
They do, that's right.
okay. I didn't want to admit, I've been putting things there in case I wasn't supposed to, but.
Oh. Yeah, I think he does. I think he keeps a bin back there too for leaves and.
Leaves and grass and such.
Yeah.
Mike, when was the last time, and I know it's a sensitive subject and I'm not gonna get into a big debate on it tonight. When was the last time we surveyed residents regarding trying to do a town contract for waste? I know maybe Brad can tell us the last time we did that, but I know it's been a while trying to do a town contract for waste services.
Maybe Brad could tell you, but not since.
It's been a long time. And I remember most of the people didn't care about the money they could save, but they were not gonna have somebody tell them who was gonna take their trash away. That was the argument. People can get very pig-headed, and they don't care if they might pay only half as much. But don't you tell me who could take my trash.
Okay, I think, Mike, on that list though, I think maybe one of those companies has changed names or either no longer exists.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's,
that list hasn't been, there's a couple of names on that, that's not.
maybe we can have somebody look at that and do the new marketing campaign that we take these things. I have like 3 things in my garage that fit that list. I'm pretty excited about it, I have to tell you.
All right.
Thanks, Meg, for bringing that up.
I've got a refrigerator coming their way.
Between the two of you, it's, yeah.
Renee, we should coordinate. I have a pickup. You can.
Okay. Okay. Anything under, anyone have anything under report and mail? Oh, wait, Mike.
Yeah.
Update on town report.
Yeah, where are we?
That's where we're update on town report. I crossed it off like that was your update on the trash.
So we're supposed to have the annual report ready for people to pick up 2 weeks before town meeting. So we got to get it printed. So we need that.
We do. And I talked to Mr. Conway last night, and he was going to send it to me.
All right.
Or send it, I should say. And
So he had a deadline, and then he doesn't show up for the meeting. I see. He's gonna come out a little bit on it. I'm only teasing.
well, I failed miserably in the time, by the way. I don't see it. And the other one is it's probably I'd say 2 days out. I'm hoping. So, and the cat has spoken.
And the cat is arrived.
Is that it, Mike? Is that was it the update on the town report?
No, just an update to see where you are.
Okay.
You're in.
Again, I'm taking the brunt.
Not you. Where's Jack?
Right. I'll text him again. He did say he was gonna wrap it up last night. So.
What are you doing for the picture, Mike? Are you gonna do one, or are you just gonna do the town picture?
It's up to you guys.
So the pictures, what we had indicated to Michelle is to use the last set of pictures. Half funny. And there goes the cat again. What happens when the cat backtracks? Does that mean
she only shows up when the meeting's running late?
Yeah. So that was the plan. Michael, just to use the last pictures because of the extended term. If you remember, we didn't hold an election until June, so that would have been the seated board at the time. I thought we sent an email out on that. Maybe not. Does anyone have any objections to that I can take back to Jeff?
No.
Okay. Okay, I can't speak to the warrants and minutes. I would say, hey, Mike, can we do, I know like we still have executive session to do. I'd like to defer and move on the approval of the minutes, but I know council had recommended at one point that we have the ability to post these in draft form and just list that they're draft. Can we do that so that at least they're available for people to see prior to us going through? If you think that might not be appropriate for the executive session.
No, you can't do it for exec, but for the open you can.
Okay. And then, so we'll keep these on the list and I just happen to look at the time and then we'll go through them.
I think December 10th is still only on you, Renee.
I think it is too. And honestly, Michael, I can't remember if I looked at it because I kind of pivoted onto this other town report issue. I apologize.
Yeah, no worries. I think going forward, I think that's an important thing. Maybe we should just put them in draft form until they're approved. But I think they should stay on there that they need to be approved, but.
Oh, right, definitely. I mean, I think we can properly bang them out. Okay, so we have our next meeting listed. I actually completely forgot about this. It's Monday, another joint meeting with the Finance Committee on Monday the 5th. And then we have a meeting, Mike, I don't know if you responded to Jack or not. He didn't tell me, April 8th. Are you good for that date?
Yep.
That's next Thursday in the board. I think, Meg, you said you were available. Michael and Brad, any issues with next Thursday?
No, that'll be fine.
Okay. So those will be our next two. Brad, would that be our last meeting with you?
Yes, it will be.
We have to think of something COVID style. Okay. So let me go back to my inbox.
I can do the motion for the member.
Okay, I just need that. Who sent that out, Michael?
Jen sent it out.
Thank you.
Do you want me to read it? Do you want me to read it for you?
No, I haven't. It just popped up. So I declare under General Laws, Chapter 38, Section 21A3, that the purposes of the executive session will be to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining because the discussion of the strategy in open session can compromise the purpose of the executive session, and with the board to not return to open session at the conclusion of the executive session.
Oh,
Is that, no, I know it says at the conclusion of the open session.
it's supposed to be executive session. Yeah. I move that the board go into executive session, general law, C30A 21A3 for the purposes and reasons declared by the chair, and with the board to not return to open session thereafter.
So moved.
How about a second, Meg?
Second.
Perfect. Okay, we'll do roll call votes. Meg?
Yes.
Brad?
Abstaining.
Thank you. What did you say, Brad?
I'm abstaining because of our discussion at the last meeting.
Oh, right.
I discovered I still have a conflict.
Right, you're not joining us in this session, but
This is for a motion to go into executive session. Inside that, you would abstain. Inside the session, Brad, I think you would abstain. Right? Or
Yeah, but I'm not going, I'm just going
You're not
to
gonna
abstain
join.
from the whole thing.
okay, that's fine.
No.
Thank you, Brad. Michael?
aye.
And I too vote yes. So thank you everyone for joining us this evening. We will give you a minute to drop off.
Good night, everyone.